oh dear, oh my. I'm sorry, I'm doing my Lost in Space impression, folks. Welcome to Talking Crit.
We're online. Oh, I didn't
Oh,
know that.
we're on live, yes.
Oh,
Oh
we're live.
dear,
Okay.
oh dear.
Yeah.
I
Look.
am Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. With me, as always, on Wednesday nights is my once a week work spouse, Bad Mike Battalato. Woo!
I'm really tired. I'm already yawning. I don't know. We should cut this like. Let's just roll about
Oh,
50, we'll do about 15 minutes and then we'll just roll.
oh my God!
How's
People are gonna
that?
want the money back. Oh, that's right. This shit's free.
It's no money, so yeah, we don't owe him anything. We owe him nothing. Nothing, I say. Um,
You pay nothing, you get
no,
nothing.
we're not giving him anything. No, we'll give you your money. We should give you your money's worth tonight.
We'll try. We'll try. I
Yeah,
mean,
we're gonna. So I did a call around to look for special guests, and I found a special guest for the rest of the month. Just nothing for right now, but we're going to have Tom Wilson on next week. He's going to talk about his Kickstarter for Slumbering City. Tom's Kickstarters are always great, and he's always just a really great guy to talk to. So we'll have him on, and then are planning on having Rob Meichker of Page on the last week of the month. He's going to tell us about the con in Philly this year, with first of its kind, the first con, and apparently the attendance was great, over 1,000 people, and they had an incredible auction that lasted like 3 or 4 hours, and just tons of events, tons of special guests. So it seems like it's a real up and comer in the
yeah,
world of
I've heard
conventions, and
only good
there's a
things about it. Holy
yeah,
crap!
and there's a very big OSR element to it too, because a lot of the special guests are the older
Uh oh.
guys, and not all of them. He's running a kind of like North Texas, he's running a kind of a mixture between old school and new school. So it should be fun to talk to him too. So, but then we're left tonight. Like what do we got? We got nothing going on tonight.
Yeah,
Nothing happening.
we got James Raggy's telling us that he's listening, and it's 3 a.m. So we better be interesting.
James, I need you. So, I you you said you sent an email to the North Texas email address. I don't even know what that is. I have no clue. I need you to send an. I don't. I really don't know what that is. Send an email to badmike3 at AOL.com. I don't even know if we monitor the. I don't know. I'll have to ask Gary if we even have a. He, but that's probably Gary's. I bet that's Gary's email. So Gary needs to check his email and see what James has sent him. I don't know what James has said, but if you send something to badmike3 at AOL.com, I will get it eventually.
There you go.
I will get it, read it, and distribute it as needed. So,
Well,
um,
let me get something out of the way. On the bottom of the screen, there is a link. It is to tankcars-tavern.games/COC. There's a Call of Cthulhu bundle over at Humble Bundle. Now, just to remind folks, this channel, whether it's the live streams or the regular videos, we don't do sponsorships. We don't, aside from the ads from Google, from YouTube, we don't. We what you hear is our honest opinion. So if you want to support us, you can join the channel and pay $1.99 a month, and we really do appreciate it. Or if you want something more substantial, you can use the affiliate links when we show them. And this is one of the affiliate links. I just spent my money's on this. I'm going to be running some of the adventures. I think for some of the married couples in my social group online. I think it would be a very good game to run with gamers and spouses and let it play out. I think
sounds
that
like the
would be.
wrong kind of role playing to me. But if you want to try it that way, that's
I
okay.
no, 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 not that kind, Michael.
Oh,
Not
okay. I'm
that
sorry.
kind. Not
I
that
was
kind. Come
just
on, it's Call of Cthulhu, and I'm not talking tentacles, man. I'm not
Hmm.
talking. This
Hmm.
isn't that like Japanese stuff. Gary, check your email.
Gary, James Raggy says he sent you something using the North Texas email. I don't even know what that is. Do we have a North Texas email? If we do, please check it and see what James has
Please,
sent. Because I
please.
don't even know that we have a North Texas email, but apparently we do. We have something called North Texas email, so we're gonna send that. And just a couple little business things to get out of the way here. Well, not business, but just interesting tidbits. Is that there will be a memorial to Janelle Jaquays February 2nd, which is a Friday, and the the National Video Game Museum in Frisco, Texas, is going to host a get together. If anybody
Oh,
wants
very
to,
nice.
yeah, because Janelle had a long and varied career in the video game industry with companies like ID and Coleco and a couple others that maybe didn't last as long. And so yeah, there'll be a get together that Friday night. I will be there. I'm actually got a hotel room nearby because I don't want to drive. It's kind of a drive. I don't want to drive all the way home. So yeah, I'll be out there, and hopefully, if you're in the DFW area, you can come out there and we'll honor the memory of Janelle there, and I don't know, probably have a few soda pops, and who knows, who
Some
knows
road
what'll happen.
sodas.
It could get crazy.
Nice.
Probably play some video games. I think you can play video games there too, which is cool. So but I
Nice.
don't know. I don't know. I've never been. I know what the National Video Game Museum is there. I've just never utilized it myself. So I will be. I'm happy now to be able to go out there and see what it's about. And it makes me realize that we need, Eric. We need a
What?
national RPG museum,
God damn it! Yes, we
and
do.
or a national D&D museum, which we don't have any of. We have many individuals that you and I both know that have gigantic collections that would be there to set these things up, but they have not set anything up yet. So I'm, it kind of sucks that here we are, the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons, and we don't have a museum for Dungeons and Dragons yet, much less role playing games in general. So yeah, hopefully in our lifetime, Eric, this will be somewhat set up. I know there's been efforts over the years to set something up, but some of the efforts were kind of half-assed. Some were not really very serious. Um, they just never really amounted to anything. I remember one point there was a couple, and they were trying to get a national RPG museum set up, but they really had no financing and nobody backing them, and they were just kind of spitballing it, and that never really came to anything. And then that was a few years ago, and they were thinking about making a museum in Orlando, Florida, I think too, because that's where they lived, is Florida.
Right.
The museum, I mean, honestly, you would think the museum, if there was a museum for that, it would be in the Midwest, specifically, the area around Wisconsin. But I think the museum's going to have to end up wherever it ends up, because I don't know that anybody in the Wisconsin area is interested in doing this, or they don't seem to be. Nobody seems to be behind it, or getting anything together. So I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens. I just think it's a missed opportunity not to have a museum for either RPGs or Dungeons and Dragons. Wouldn't WotC seem to be the ones that would put together a museum for Dungeons and Dragons, or would that
Somebody
seem to
mentioned
be?
that. Yes, Eldrad mentioned that WotC should do it. And Peter says that the exhibit at the Lake Geneva Museum is a decent start.
I think I've heard they do a really good job at the library does a good job there, and the Lake Museum, the Lake Geneva Museum does a great job too. So I've heard those are pretty good alternatives for the time being, and it makes sense, because Lake Geneva was the birthplace of Dungeons and Dragons, and probably the whole culture of RPGs to begin with. So that makes good sense. But as we know, what does Lake Geneva suffer from, Eric? What's the one issue that prevents it from being a huge hub? Is that it's so far away from everything.
Yes.
There's nothing close by. There's a few hotels. I mean, it's really. It reminds me a lot. I think people talk when they talk about Cooperstown, because Cooperstown is the football
No,
Hall
baseball.
of Fame.
No,
Baseball.
Cooktown baseball.
Yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere. Everybody says that's the one thing that kind of is against it. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and you know, I think that's one thing that's against a lot of stuff being in Lake Geneva is it's just such a hard get. I mean, you have to fly into Wisconsin or Madison, and then you have to drive another 45 minutes, and it's just there's nothing close by. There's a very limited number of hotels there. There's a lot of issues with making Lake Geneva the head of the the center of anything. So. Maybe it doesn't belong. I mean, if somebody was going to open one up in Dallas, I'd be all for it. I mean, I don't think Dallas has any claim to being any kind of historical spot when it comes to RPGs, but it's a big city and it's a destination. Just much
Right.
like Madison, Wisconsin would be, or Milwaukee, or any kind of big city like that. You're just looking for a destination.
Uh, James Raggy, didn't Omen 2 take place in Lake Geneva? I don't. You know what? It could
uh,
have.
hmm.
Who? I have my own nightmares from Omen,
Okay,
the
well,
first one.
I'm looking it up right now and seeing if it does.
I saw the first Omen in a drive-in theater
Ooh.
as a kid in the backseat of my parents' probably 71 Chevy Capri, and oh my god, I had nightmares from that. Damien.
Omen 1 and Omen 2 are two different, totally different
Yes.
type of movies, though, really. It says a wealthy suburb of Chicago. I think Lake Geneva might be too far away to be a suburb of Chicago. But maybe they did some kind of a fiddling around like, oh yeah, Lake Geneva is right outside of Chicago. Maybe they did one of those. People, it's flyover country, right? They
Right.
don't the West Coast, Hollywood. They don't know where Lake Geneva is. They think it's
Well,
close to Chicago. So
Lake Geneva is where the Chicagoans go to summer at the lake.
right.
It's like the Poconos for New York City, the metropolitan area. Yes,
So
it's got that kind of
maybe
effect.
they just thought, oh, it's sort of around there. So nobody really knows what goes on out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, we'll just say it's a suburb of Chicago, and
Yeah, John Miller says they did some filming in Lake Geneva, according to Wiki.
okay, so they did filming there, but it doesn't necessarily take place there. It's just
No.
they did some filming there. It says a suburb of Chicago.
Yeah, we're not going to name it because we don't want to get offended by anybody. We don't need to offend nobodies.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at the Wikipedia. It pretty much states it's right outside of Chicago. So it's not. That's interesting though. They did some. That makes sense. They did some filming there because there is a
Oh,
big connection
I guess
between.
I like Terry's the Northwestern Military and Naval Academy, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin campus, which was used for the military academy, with real Lake Geneva students portraying most of
Mm,
the academy cadets.
mm.
Wow.
See, I think the Omen movies are really actually really bad horror, I'll explain why. I mean, I think there's a lot of really terrible horror movies made, for various reasons, whatever. I mean, I think torture porn's terrible. I think most slasher
Slash,
movies are
yeah.
terrible. It's really hard to get an actual horror movie that's really very frightening. I mean, I can give you my list of what I think are actually really scary horror movies
Well, like
that actually don't break the rules of what I call the rules of horror movies. And my problem with Omen is that you essentially have a. I think what makes horror more frightening is if there's a chance to overcome the horror. Like I don't like the horror movies, although there's some exceptions, but I don't like the horror movies usually where it's just inevitable. They're all the good guys are going to lose. That's what's cool about the Evil Dead movies, is that they're really good horror because the people that are good fight back, and sometimes they kind of win. I don't know if you'd call
they
it
win,
win, but
right? They win battles. They may not win the war,
yeah,
but they win
they
battles.
don't die. The Omen movies are from the very beginning. He's the Antichrist. He's going to destroy the world, and nothing can stop him now. But now the third Damien movie, they do stop him. So I guess it kind of ruins this. I
It
guess maybe
ruins
that
your
does ruin
theory,
it for you.
Mike. It ruins
It
your
ruins my
theory.
theory because in the third movie, I want to say Damien is portrayed by oh gosh, I can't remember the actor, very famous actor's name, and he's going to become the president, I believe, and then of course there's still Sam Neill. Sam Neill is the
Oh, okay.
yeah
Yeah.
he's yeah at the end I think they end up taking him out, so that's kind of cool.
See,
Um,
I would consider a movie like Seven the type of horror movie that I would enjoy because it's got the mystery, and when the horror hits you, it shocks you. It's like totally out of the blue, as opposed to it's like, oh man, not more slashing. I'm done with this, man. You know, it's like I'm done with it.
I have a huge problem with Seven though. My problem with Seven is the bad guy that's so incredibly intelligent. He's not just one or two steps ahead of you. He's 1,000 steps ahead of you.
Uh huh.
So no matter what you do, if you decide you're not going to go in the office today and you're going to stay home and you're going to read a book by TV, he's already planned for that. He's planning for that too, and that's my problem with Seven. Is that it's so almost ridiculous, and this guy's planned for every single decision they make exactly as a mistake. If they make one mistake decision different in that whole movie, it changes the whole movie up.
Fair
You
enough.
know, because like the whole really the very famous climax of it is they have to go out to the spot where there's going to be a box delivered. What if the cops just say no, we're not going to do that? No, you got to do that. That's how the movie's supposed to. No, we're just not going to do that.
Right.
We're not going to do what you're telling us to do, psycho serial killer. We're not going to go to this spot and bring you there. What if they just decide to do that? The whole movie's the whole movie it doesn't make
The
any
whole
sense.
that's the same. That's the way a lot of movies
Just go,
are.
"Wah." Yeah,
Uh,
that's true. But
yeah.
I don't like those kind of movies either. I don't like the movies where everything goes down to hey, you have to do every. And so that's
The
my problem.
railroad. The railroad.
Yeah, the problem with Seven is just this guy is so supremely over the top intelligent. He can plan what's going on 10 moves ahead of. I mean, I like the whole look of the movie and I like the feel of the movie. It's very dark and
Mhm.
depressing and creepy. But I just that part I just had to roll my eyes a couple times because they had to keep the plot rolling. So they think
Right.
of these really terrible explanations about why they like one of the things they say is well, we got to do what this killer in Seven says because we found some DNA on his body, and it's not DNA of anybody he's already killed. So that means there's somebody else already in danger. Well, wouldn't that say even
What?
more not to do what the serial killer is telling you to do? Because apparently somebody's in. Anyway, so they have to think of these things to move the plot line along. I don't know. I mean, you work for the New York Police Department. Is the New York
Yeah.
Police Department good? If a serial killer walks in the front door and says, "I want to go to this remote spot in the middle of nowhere and have a box delivered to me at such time," are they going to let him do that? Are they gonna?
No.
No, they're gonna say, "Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just not happening,
You're
bro.
gonna sit.
Sorry."
You're gonna sit in a fucking cell, dude.
Yeah, bro.
The
Nice
only
plan,
box.
bro.
The only
But
box you might be getting is the Happy Meal from McDonald's.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Yeah.
need
Like
a
Rich
full.
in the background. She's like, minus the meat. Because
We're,
by the way, because I used to pick up when you had to do the meal run for prisoners, as if they were allowed to the precinct, it came from McDonald's, and McDonald's gave them basically a Happy Meal with no toys. It was a child-sized drink,
good. Toys.
child-sized fries, and a hamburger. Sorry, a cheeseburger with whole the meat. It was that half slice of cheese on a little bun, and that was their meal.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean, it still has a McDonald's tang to it,
Dollar
so
they charged the city $1.93 a meal for that.
and that's a ripoff
Back
because
in
you didn't
time,
get toy.
that's
You didn't get a toy. That's way
no,
too
we
much
got
for
not
them.
that was like 25 years ago. I still remember that. Holy crap! Oh God!
Well, watch there's a really good horror movie that came out 20 years ago called Session 9. If you want to see a really absolutely frightening psychological just a really absolute horror movie, watch Session 9. Just going to tell you that. It's really good. Really really good. It's that fills my criteria for being an excellent horror movie because it does everything. It sets up first of all, it's made in a creepy location. It's an actual a decommissioned asylum, and the guys in the movie are clearing asbestos out of this asylum so they can tear it down. And it was actually filmed on a decommissioned asylum that was torn down after the movie was made. And so it's the setting is incredible. I mean, it's
Wow!
creepy as all get out. All the scenes they use in the movie are actual scenes. There's one scene where they're walking through the asylum pauper's graveyard that actually existed. So they actually filmed on the site, and it's really good. It's a very good movie about the nature of evil, the nature of just demonic possession. I mean, there's a lot of things that go on in the movie that are just really interesting. The whole setup's really one of those setups like, okay, that's a cool setup. What are they gonna do with this?
All
So
right,
it's a, so
this is the one I'll have to watch like on a Saturday afternoon.
Session 9, really good. It has a lot of stars. David Caruso's in it. He's kind of in a minor role. He's like the secondary, third. This is before he got famous with CSI Miami. This is 2001 or whatever.
Don has a question. Do either of you read short novels like 120 page or so murder mysteries?
I'm a huge Pulp Fiction fan. Yes, I read lots of short novels. So I
I
do.
don't
Matter of fact,
read like I
I'm
used to.
reading
So.
I'm reading one right now. It's not too far away from me to grab and show you, but um, I'm reading an author from the 50s, 40s, 50s. His name was Howard Brown, and he wrote a guy. His name was Paul Pine. Paul Pine, Private Eye. He only wrote 4 books, but they're all incredibly excellent. and it's very realistic because he hardly ever shoots his gun. Matter of fact, he gets beat up a lot. He gets beat up, and he sits around his office all the time smoking, and nobody comes in. And like I said, when he gets in fights, he doesn't pull his gun and shoots. He usually just gets his ass kicked, but he does.
Oh,
He
it's
ends up
like,
solving he always ends up solving the mystery. The cops are kind of like, yeah, they're okay with him. They're not like, oh, you're a private eye, we hate you. They're kind of like, well,
right.
whatever, we just
Get
don't
out of the
want you
way.
involved. Yeah, just get out of the way. And so those are really good. Anyway, they're about that. They're that kind of that Pulp Fiction range, about 200 pages, maybe 180 pages. So they're really I like the whole Pulp Fiction format. There was a lot of really good fiction written in that format back in the day. So I really
Well,
enjoy.
Don,
Really enjoy.
I have Mike's address. That's why he has those new headphones. So yes, I'll
Yeah,
forward you
they
the
sound
address.
good too. They sound good. They're a little tight on my big giant head. These are tiny.
Don't.
When I got the package, they were so tiny. I was like, oh my gosh. So here's my old ones. My old ones were giant ones. So,
Oh yeah.
but these are no, they're so
Oh
far. I
my
haven't
God.
had any issues.
All right,
No
everybody,
issues.
everybody, listen.
Mm.
The stress level just went up.
Oh, my hero, Tom Tullis is here. Is that yes? That is him.
I can see the glare of his head. Yes.
It's beautiful. Anyway, so yeah, so I don't like there was a. I'm trying to think. There's a couple of good horror movies that come out in the last few years. I think horror is really good now because I think they do different kinds of horror. I mean, the best people doing horror right now are the Japanese because we end up redoing half their movies like The Ring that was Japanese. I mean, there's a really good Japanese movie called Audition. If you see that, that's creepy as all hell. That's a good creepy Japanese movie. But yeah, half the movies we have now are all. The Grudge was a Japanese movie first, and we just redo
Oh,
them because
okay.
we have no good ideas left in the United States, so
All right, well, listen,
we just
that's
steal
been
from
away for a
from
while.
the others.
That's nothing new.
So yeah, so we'll have to get Glenn on here one day and do a horror
Do
movie review
a
because
movie
like I said,
review.
there's just so few. I just think there's so few what I would call good horror movies out there anymore. But one that I saw recently I thought was pretty good was Green Room. Green Room's really good. If you see that, that's probably on Prime or Netflix. Green Room has Captain Picard is the main
Ooh.
bad guy. I can't remember whatever the actor's name. He's the main bad guy and
Oh, Jean Luc. Why can't uh
Captain Picard.
why
Yeah,
can't I
so
remember his name right now?
I don't know, but he does a really good
Yeah,
job. It's a kind of a it's
being a
interesting
writer.
book. Yeah, it's
I'm
really good.
getting I'm getting old, Mike.
I know,
We're
I
getting. Oh
know.
wait, maybe
Captain Jean Luc Picard. Except
maybe that's a tie-in.
he's a leader of a bunch of neo Nazis in this one. He runs a bar and they have a music group there and they come and they play and there's a green room and they have to stay in the green room and they accidentally see somebody get murdered at the club and then it's them versus the neo Nazis in the club and it's really good.
Okay.
They have to use their wits to try to escape because they're in this club and they're in the green room. They got to get it. They can't get out. I mean, this guy has the whole, he knows they're in there, and they're like, if you guys, they don't believe him when he says he's going to let them go if they decide not to tell anybody about the murder. He's like, yeah, it's not going to happen. They're going to kill us all. So we got to figure out a way out of here. So that's a really good. That would be, I guess, classified as horror.
Kill
It's
them
it's it's
all.
pretty good, and he's a good bad guy, man. He needs to play more roles than just Jean Luc Picard. Except, well, now he's really old now. He can't,
But he also
but
played Professor Xavier in the X-Men movies.
yeah, and he was very famously in Excalibur and Dune too, which
Oh, that's right.
that's back
Yeah,
when he was a young pup. He was all over the place in British cinema.
a young pup back when he had hairs.
I never saw
Um,
him as Ahab and
I
Moby
I
Dick. No, I never saw that. So.
I think I think Picard was born bald. I think that's the whole shtick there
Yeah,
is that he never had hairs. But
just like Tom Tullis, he was born bald and just stayed that way because that's the way God intended men to be, I guess.
real man of genius.
So
Oh,
I'm kind of disappointed. Here we are, 2 weeks into the new year, and there's no WotC news. And but I mean, there's something.
oh no,
There's actually
there's a light WotC news. WotC, Amazon shipped out the the boxes for the deck of endless many things.
Oh no, I read
The
about
boxes
this.
that were
Oh
recalled,
dear.
Amazon went recall,
Oh dear.
recall. Which means that they got their money returned, right? They sold them anyway. They put them back in the mix and they sold them. They're like, oh, just sell them. Nobody will know the difference.
Mm.
So I don't know if that's directly a WotC a boo
Now
boo.
these had deformities in them, correct? These were not.
The cards, one there's three decks within. One deck was shorter than the other. One of these decks is not like the other. Oh, and the cards were warped, and they weren't wrapped in plastic. They were like that like cross of paper. Oh yeah,
Mm,
it was bad. It
that's
was
not good.
not
Yeah,
good.
that's You know what though? I've heard people talk about this, and they're saying, you know what? Honestly, that's not Watsy's fault. That is a printing problem with the printer. But it follows the Watsy formula, doesn't it? Whatever they
Well,
do turns to poo poo. It
what
doesn't.
here's the issue. These cards were recalled. So why the hell did Amazon have them to sell and release when oh well the new cards are in. Oh look what we found in our warehouse. We already have this. I mean what the fuck? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but like I said, I mean, you can't. I mean, the printer will screw things up. Now, I think it's your fault if you go with the cheap printer. If you take the lowest bid, like which, and I don't know, and I could be totally off base on this. I heard that's what happened to Paizo's rulebooks the last time they had a rulebook snafu, which was a few years
Oh,
ago.
was it
Is I
the
heard they took a low
star
bid. I heard they took a low bid
Starfinder
on the printer. Yeah,
when
remember
like the
they
pages
had books falling
randomly
apart.
falling out, like the glue
Yeah,
binding didn't
very
bind?
bad, very bad. But I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know that to
dear.
be true. I just heard the rumors that they may have taken the lowest bid on that printing
No,
contract, and
no, no. Listen, taking the. I'm going to take a step back here. Taking the lowest bid is often being penny wise for pound foolish, because especially, and I know a circumstance that I'm not going to talk about with details, but I know a circumstance where somebody had a handshake deal with a printer in the States and then found a cheaper deal with a printer in China. And what happened with that handshake deal?
mm, out the door.
So penny wise, pound foolish. There's somebody's work that's not going to be done on time because
Hmm.
they went for the more money in my pocket deal.
But you know what
So,
though? But if you have sometimes deal with China at the best bid, because look what happened during COVID when everything got delayed for months and months
oh
and months
God,
at a
yeah.
time.
Well, and maybe they'll send some bonus COVID over with it, or whatever the latest.
Some bonus COVID. You don't have enough COVID. We're gonna give you some
You
bonus
you
COVID.
don't have enough COVID. You need more COVID with
No.
your game.
By the way, we're in the middle of another COVID outbreak apparently, because I have run into so many people on Facebook who have come up in the last month and said they're having COVID. So be careful out there if you try to take your vitamins and stay away from people. And if you feel like you have to wear a mask, wear it. I don't think they do anything personally, but if you feel like that's something you need, go ahead. But just yeah, be careful because COVID is making kind of a now. This isn't the COVID that we knew back in the day, Eric.
No, no, no.
That would just absolutely just freaking kill you if you looked at it. This is a milder. This is a milder COVID. This is a more
This
modern
the
milder COVID.
COVID that gives you a minor hemorrhoid.
Yeah,
Not really,
this
but
people are getting sick, but it's not. It's about like the flu, just like just like another case of the flu, really, from what
right.
my friends that have gotten it. But matter of fact, the comment I hear most often is, "Well, I've had worse flus than this COVID's, but it's still there. So it's there. It's easy to catch. You don't want to get it because you don't want to be like me and be here 2 years later, and I still have lost part of my sense of smell and my sense of taste. Still 100% come back, Eric. It's still have issues. Every once in a while, it's like I'll be okay for a while, and then I'll bite into something like I can't even taste this, and then I just lose my appetite because I'm like, I can't taste it. I don't want to, whatever. So yeah, so it's like you would for any flu. Try to avoid COVID, which means wash your hands a lot. I wash my hands all
Yeah.
day long, Eric, and I still have containers of antibacterials that I use, and I try not to be in giant crowds still to this day during the winter months. During the summer months, it's not as bad, but during the winter months, I definitely stay out of crowds, which means that I don't, I'm I was thinking last year I didn't want to go to GaryCon. One of the reasons is, and they had a big COVID outbreak there 2 years ago or last year. I can't remember. And I
Uh-huh.
was thinking, yeah, that's not a very good time to be having a convention nowadays because the winter months is when COVID is most prevalent and or the flu is most prevalent. And so you definitely want to avoid crowds during that time of year. But so the last thing you want to do is get stuck with 3,000 nerds in a giant hotel for a week. And sure enough, a lot of people last year got COVID. I believe they did the year before too at GaryCon, but that they did also at TotalCon. TotalCon had a COVID issue. So if you're going to go to
Yeah.
one of those cons in the winter months, be very careful because that's
Well,
prime time to not be shoved into a building with
I'll,
thousands
I'll
of other
I'll
people.
be at TotalCon in a month, so I'll bring all my
Mm.
vitamins. I'll bring
Take your yeah,
my
take your
vitamin
zinc,
D.
zinc and vitamin C and all that vitamin D and all that good stuff,
Yes.
and try not to look. Don't and look people, and I say this all the time because we say this in North Texas too. Don't be the guy who's sick and but you're like, no, I don't. I still want to go. We know you want to go, but you're not helping anybody or proving anything by going when you're sick. And that this is what 90% of the time. Yes, some people are sick without presenting symptoms. I know that happens, or they get. There's years past. There was a couple years ago or last year. I know people that went to Gary Con, got sick while they were there, so it developed beforehand, and they were smart enough to either go back home or isolate themselves, which is very commendable. Because they got sick at Gary Con, and they're like, well, I don't want to spread this. So don't be the guy that is playing at your table, hacking, bacteria all over the place. And that's why North Texas offers we you can come next year if you for any reason whatsoever you buy a ticket, you can't make it, just roll it over next year. But we do a next year rollover because to avoid the people like, oh well, I
Right.
already bought the ticket. I'm gonna come. I mean, I coughed up half a lung on the living room floor, but I'm still gonna come. I mean, I'm not gonna miss this for the world. Then you get everybody else sick at your table, and everybody else is sick in the dealer room, and blah blah blah. There's always a patient zero for this. Some guy that just can't stay home when they're sick. Just like the guy that always comes to work. You probably had this when you were in the police department. There's always the
Oh
guy
yeah.
that comes to work because he doesn't have any more vacation time, or he doesn't want the sick time, or he just feels like he's a badass and he just has to go in. We had those at my job all the time too. I hated those people.
Sick
Absolutely
time
hated them.
is not to be sick. You don't want to be sick
Mm-mm.
on your sick time.
Yes.
Or if you had a minor illness and you can enjoy your sick time because NYPD you have unlimited sick in theory. So if you could go out for like a solid week on like a sniffle and enjoy yourself at home, that's great. But if you are going to be miserable, you'd rather be miserable at work. I dealt with that a lot of times
Yeah,
with people that I
and
worked with.
then you don't care. You're a sociopath because you're getting everybody else's work sick, dude. Don't
Yeah.
do that. And we had people who did that all the time in my work because one of our place I used to work before I quit was I worked there for 15 years. Is that they they mingled your sick time and your vacation time together. You got X
Ooh.
amount of weeks, and so people did not want to use it, like you said, for sick time. They
Yep.
wanted to use that for vacation time. So they would come to work sick, like as you said, and
Yep.
that was just that was a big no no because now part of our job was going into doctors' offices and dealing with doctors. So you're around a lot of sick people anyway, so it was easy to get sick at my job. But it didn't help everybody else there when you walk in the office and you're hacking and coughing and like, oh my god, this
Right.
guy, what is this guy doing? And that would happen every year, and I would just be like, I'm out. You were in your own car most of the day anyway, so I'm like, I'm out. I'm not sitting here talking to people. If there's one guy in here that's coughing up a lung, I'm out, absolutely out.
Oh, come on. But you don't want to share my illness with me? What are
So
you? Some kind of commie?
they're not so. So I'd like to now. There's one thing I'd like to bring up before we get to another subject that I
Yeah.
know that you did a video on. But I've seen this mentioned in the media quite a bit, and this has been mentioned in podcasts and Facebook, whatever. No one is really sure what WotC is doing for the 50th anniversary, and there's been very little released about this or announced, except that they are doing something. They have said we are going to do something. Oh, it's going to be big, and it's going to be this and that. but nobody knows what it is, and they didn't talk about it last year, and they haven't really talked about it this year. There's been tidbits and bits and pieces, you know. I see a couple of news releases here and there about, oh, we're going to release this or that, but they just haven't really said, look, we're going to make this the best 50th anniversary you've ever seen, and we're going to do this, this, and this. What is going on here?
Do you want me to take a stab at it?
Yes, I do. I want you to
All
take a
right.
stab.
I think because we know they're releasing the books in May, and there's no conventions going on of any major
No,
sort in
none,
May.
none.
So I suspect they're going to do their D&D summit, their virtual summit. They're going to a physical virtual summit. They're going to invite like people like Bob the Word Builder and a few others to come out to be there in person. Maybe it's going to be like the elite party out there in Washington, and then the second tier YouTubers will be part of the virtual summit, and then the rest of the peons will have to watch this stuff through their preferred uh, influencers because they're
Mm-hmm.
going to want to make sure that their coverage is um, they would say accurate. I would say
Right.
uh, highly influenced by influencers. But
Okay.
it's going. I think that's what they're doing, and there's no reason to announce that early because once you do, they're going to get inundated by influencers wanting to get. What about me too? I want to get my free hotel and I want to come. I'm an influencer. Look at me. I've got influence. I mean, come on. So I think
Mm.
that's what's going to go on.
Mm.
It's
It
all
doesn't
going to be
sound like
online.
it doesn't sound like much of a plan. It just doesn't sound like a
Oh no, no,
much of a
and
plan.
it's a cheap plan. All right, they plan on doing this on the cheap. And why do I say that? Because they I think ideally for them, I don't know if they're far enough along with this. Ideally for them, the rule books and the VTT will launch on the same fucking day, and they want to start their master plan. And their master plans have everybody on the VTT or everybody in D&D Beyond. We're going to do that. We're going to be on Twitch. We're going to be twerking, and
Oh
you know
dear.
that's really.
Are we gonna twerk? Let's twerk. Well, I guess we'll do a twerk show that week. Why not?
I could if I twerk, I throw my back out. I'm just telling you
Yeah, I
now.
have I have sciatica now.
Yeah.
I actually have sciatica.
No,
So
no. So
yes, I can't do that. I can't. No twerking. No
no
twerking. Sorry.
twerking. You
No.
know, I'm lucky if I bend over and I cough if I don't throw my back out. So I
Yeah.
mean, twerking is certainly out of the way.
Well, it just seems
Terry.
like this is just so like everything else they did last year. It's kind of half-assed, kind of thrown together, kind of not really planned. Like it's almost like they're maybe I'm wrong, Eric, but it's almost like they're embarrassed by the legacy of D&D, and that's leading to our next topic too, which you
Oh
wrote
yeah,
about
yeah.
too,
No,
which is
I
Roleplaying.
don't.
It's like they're embarrassed that they have to celebrate these guys, and you know,
Well, there's
we'd
too
rather
many
just
white
talk
guys.
about 5e. We'd rather just talk about the new 5e game and the VTT. We don't want to have to honor the 50
Yeah,
years of
50 years of
D&D.
what? 50,
Yeah,
50
we weren't
years
around then. We've only
of
been around since 2000. I've only been working with
yeah,
the company since 2020, so I don't want
yeah.
to talk about the other
Well, maybe we'll start
years.
with D&D started with 2014 when D&D Next became 5e. Terry, maybe the heavy hitters of the OSR need to band together and celebrate the 50th anniversary. Beat them to the punch and show them that we really care much more than they do. Um, good luck on that. And I don't,
Nobody's preventing people from doing that, but I just
yeah,
look that's not our job. That's not the OSR's job. The OSR,
yeah.
their job is to put out good product, which they have been doing, to put out product that emulates and you know praises older styles of gaming and that you know continues the tradition of D&D. But it's not really our job to. I mean, it's great to think about doing that. That would be awesome, but it's not our job to do a
No.
50th anniversary celebration. That should WotC should have had this covered, man. This should have been something they've been building up. They should have got us all excited about it last year, and we should be just like chomping at the bit, going, man. They're going to release Dark Sun for 50th anniversary. That's going to be really cool. I mean, they've got Braum coming back. Braum's doing new covers.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And they're this and that. I mean, I could give you. Okay, I haven't even thought about this, Eric. I haven't written down and thought about it. I'm going to give you 5 ideas for 50th anniversary.
Ooh.
Kick-ass. Okay, that was the first one.
Foolishness.
They should have re-released. Oh, we're going to re-release Dark Sun. We're going to bring Braum back. We're going to do this. Then we're going to do this. It's going to be great. We're going to have a Dark Sun world. We're going to release some adventures. What? Okay, that would have been a great 50th anniversary because everybody, that is probably the fan favorite setting that everybody loves that they will never reproduce because it has slavery in it. And they said they are no longer doing slavery ever again. Even though slavery is presented as evil and something bad, and slavers are terrible people that you want to kill, they're still not going to do it. But anyway, that would be something that people look forward to. That actually say, "Hey, we'd love to do that. That sounds awesome." How about a re-release of Greyhawk? Re-release of Greyhawk 50th anniversary, except they can have a whole bunch of modern writers do it. You know what? What if they let Ed Greenwood do Greyhawk? What? He's Forgotten Realms, but hey, we're going to let you do Greyhawk.
Here's the issue: is if you let them re-release Greyhawk, then you know what you're going to get? You're going to get fucking Dragonborn and Azeroth or whatever in Greyhawk. Yes, you will.
No,
yes, you will.
You're going to do it old school style, but you're going to do it with a new sense. You're going to do it 5e though. You're going to do it 5e, but you're not going to do all this crazy stuff. And that's something that harkens back to the beginning of the hobby. I think it would. A lot of the old guard would get excited about it, and it would introduce the game world to a lot of the new kids who don't really know what Greyhawk is. They have no clue. I think that would have been cool. Re-release Greyhawk 50th anniversary, modernize it. I mean, look, a lot of old guys would have hated it because they don't want to see Greyhawk be 5e, but I think it'd have been cool. It'd have been really interesting to see Greyhawk as 5e. What's another? How about Planescape? Let's just. Everybody wants Planescape back. Everybody loves Planescape, and they've dragged their heels on re-releasing Planescape. How about a 50th anniversary? We're going to re-release Planescape. We're going to redo Planescape and do a reboot of that. It's going to be awesome. Okay, how about this one? And we've talked about this before because remember the crazy statistic that the last game world introduced by WotC was Eberron in 2004.
Yeah, they didn't even design it. That was the winner of a contest.
That was Mark Baker, I think his name.
Whatever. Yeah.
Okay. How about a new game world for 50th anniversary?
Oh,
brand new game world. We haven't done this before. Something we haven't done. It's not Dragonlance. It's not Ravenloft. It's not Dark Sun. It's not Greyhawk. It's not Forgotten Realms. It's not Eberron. It's going to be a brand new. We haven't done that in 20 years. For the first time in 20 years. For the 50th anniversary, we're going to have a new game world. Wouldn't that have been awesome? That'd be cool. It may not be anything that I like personally. I don't particularly like Eberron, but I just think it'd been at least they could prove they still have the creative juices that they used to have. I guess I'm answering my own question here, aren't I? There's no creative juices left.
Mike, you left out an obvious one. Oh, your headset. You banged on the table.
Ran out of, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you banged too hard. You must have ruined it.
I think we found out. I think we found out how long my headset battery pack worked. No, it's back up now. I think I banged the table too hard.
I think you got to stop banging on the table, Mike.
I was banging the table.
You missed something. D&D in space, 5e in space. Listen, we already have.
That's called Spelljammer. It's terrible. Nobody wants Spelljammer.
No, that's Spelljammer, isn't it? I'm talking science fiction. Put the 5e rule set into a sci-fi rule set, but no, they're not going to do that.
Yeah, there's so many things. There's so many things. We just tossed out half a dozen answers. There's so many things they could have done that I think would have been really excited about. I think what they're not excited about is VTT version because nobody seems to be like, wow, man, I cannot wait for that VTT version to come out so I can jump on my computer and play some more D&D. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's a certain segment of the people that are probably interested in that, but it doesn't seem to be a very big segment, Eric.
No.
At least not what I see. And when I'm reading through End World and RPG Net and Facebook and this that. I just don't see those people. Maybe I'm just not looking hard enough for those people. I don't know.
Now there's a lack of excitement about the 50th anniversary, and
They're really
that
gonna
to
blow it.
me
They're gonna blow it, aren't they? They
is
really are gonna
very
blow it.
surprising. I would have expected a lot more excitement. I would have expected a lot more ramp up to it. Right? This is something that you can monetize
Yeah,
greatly. And oh, we got a coffee table book coming out. You're gonna like it. It reprints the original D&D rules
it's
at
gonna
a
be
size
nice
that you
because
can actually
look,
read it.
it's John Peterson doing it.
Yeah.
Everything he does is great. He's a credible creative genius guy. But is that really what we wanted to see for the 50th anniversary? Yeah,
Well, that's what you get.
you know.
That's what you get. What
Well,
I would
well,
have loved to have seen. Well, by the way, last time around they reprinted everything, but they didn't reprint the basic and expert rule sets.
true.
Can you imagine if the original BX rules were reprinted? Two new box sets. You could price these box sets at $75 a piece, and people would jump put shitty wax dice in there. You could charge $100. People would buy them like they were going
Oh
out of
yeah,
style.
very much so.
You know?
By the way, David Greenwood did some gravel apologies last week. He needed to apologize for that because that's what happens when you're an old guy and you don't look and see who you're supporting. The guy he's supporting is a piece of human garbage, so he probably should have done a little research on that. The guy is a huge Lanasa supporter. The
Yes.
Palmer, the guy, he just gigantic Lanasa. And the thing is, he doesn't even believe in anything Lanasa stands for. He just wants the clicks from Lanasa's buddies or people that like Lanasa. He said before he doesn't even know anything about Lanasa. They're not personal friends. He doesn't know anything. He just likes the fact they make other people mad. And so that means he must be a great guy because he makes the right people mad. So yeah, Greenwood, and look, Ed's an older guy that's probably not online social media savvy, and you got to be careful. You got to be careful who you support and who you talk about online.
Well,
it sucks because it's almost like you got to do research on every single person you see pop up. You got to do a little research on them to see who
well,
this guy stands for.
but Ed has his own handler, right? Like a whole team of handlers or whatever. He doesn't go out and to a convention without the person that you got to interface with before you can
Ed
interface
is
with
a,
Ed.
so Ed has been accused of being a little handsy with the females, and I don't know
Ah,
if it's true. I'm just going to tell you this is what the rumor is. He's been accused of being handsy. So, and this has not just happened. Like this has been going on for probably 10, 20 years. He's been
okay.
accused of this. I've met the guy. It seems like he's a nice guy. Very, very outgoing. Very pro gaming. He just seems like he's a fun guy. But yes, it's troubling. He does have to have a handler that
All
sticks
right.
with him all the time. I think that's very troubling. For whatever reason. When they say that Eric has to go to this convention, but Eric must have a handler, that would always give me a little red flag. Okay, Bad Mike's coming to our convention, and so is his handler. His handler?
Oh,
You mean
you mean
his?
their spouse?
No, I mean his handler because he has to be handled. What does he have to be handled for? Well, we're not really going to talk about that. Okay, red flag. Yeah, I'm a little worried.
Okay, I got you. I
So
understand now. And of course, if you're inviting Ed to a convention, I guess you got to pay for and feed the handler.
you
So,
gotta have a handler, and you must have a handler apparently. And look, I'd love to have Ed at North Texas. I'd love to have Ed at convention. I'd love to have him sign a bunch of stuff. He comes to Game Hole every year. I think if he comes to GaryCon, I don't think I've seen him at GaryCon ever, but yeah, he's got some issues, which probably leads us into our next subject about these old white guys in the hobby that have issues such as needing handlers.
oh, oh, yeah. I
Oh,
mean, throwing. Oh, look,
you just happen to have this ready to
I
go. That
just
sounds
happen
crazy.
to have this ready for us.
That's
Oh
insane.
my God!
That's
You
insane.
would you would you would think I did show prep. I mean, we don't. Come on,
I
we
like
don't
it.
do that shit. We
I
don't do
like
that
it.
shit. So, Mike, This is
Yes,
from
sir.
Victor Raymond. Now, you'll be better at this one than me. What what qualifies Victor Raymond to speak about the OSR at a
Now
gaming
I'll
convention?
say that. So Victor Raymond's a friend, and he's also comes to Nortex every year. Yeah, I'm not gonna bang on him too much,
No, I'm not saying
but
you should.
he's basically the guy behind the society that controls MAR Barker's Emperor of the Petal Throne world at this point. And Victor is a he's a professor, and he teaches. He's a teacher, and he knew he's just been involved in this a long time. He comes to North Texas every year. He runs Empire of the Petal Throne games, but he's the person who basically controls the legacy of MAR Barker's Empire of the Petal Throne, which, for those you don't know, was probably the first world. It may even have kept. I think it came out before World of Greyhawk. It was pretty
Oh,
much
it
the
did.
first fantasy world
Yeah.
ever released. It's very unusual. It's more. It's a mixture of sci-fi and fantasy. It has an incredibly unique backstory and history,
And language.
um, and yeah, it's really interesting. It's this world there was there's aliens in it. There's monsters. I mean, it's a really interesting world. It's very hard to run to, at least for me, to run games in it because I just don't know the mythology of it very much. It has a very thick mythology that's been going, and this mythology has been built on for the last 50 years or so. But that's kind of Victor's claim to fame, and he's done. He's been in the OSR adjacent areas for quite a long time, quite a time. I've known him for a long time. He's been in the gaming industry for quite a long time.
All right. So for folks that don't know, how many years ago was it now? 4? Was this before or after the year the world stopped? When
Well,
more
2020, right, was COVID, or
yeah
19, right in that area.
yeah. So I think it was right before when the world came to an end
Yeah.
briefly. Mar Barker was revealed
Oh
to have
dear. Yeah.
a pseudonym who was very prolific at writing. Was it neo-Nazi works?
Very, very neo-Nazi adjacent. Yes, extreme. Matter of fact, it was neo-Nazi
Yeah.
stuff. It pretty much, and this was something that, depending on who you talk to, was either not discovered for a long time or was discovered and kept secret because people didn't want people to know.
All right.
I can't say one way or the other. I don't know for
I
sure.
can I can say that I had a source at the time who was initially willing to go public, but then there was too much of a industry brouhaha backlash over this. But my source told me that this was known for a while, and it would powers that be within the organization that controlled the world and the IP just kind of didn't want to know. I didn't get direct names as to because there's more than Victor Raymond involved in this project.
Right.
So and then things became dicey, and my source was like, you know what, I can't. And I've always respected my sources, folks. I don't. But this is what happened, so that's where for me
Sure.
the story begins and ends. But I
Absolutely.
do believe that the organization knew or should have known, or at least one or more people within the organization knew and kept others in the dark as to the connection between Mar Barker and I forget the
Right.
name of the pseudonym, but it was
But yeah, they were
weird.
discovered to have written some very and which. So look, this is look. There's got there's people in the industry now that are like not just Victor, but Jeff D is a huge Empire of the Petal Throne fan.
Oh
He's
yeah,
written stuff for it. I'm trying to. There's a couple other. Steve Winter has written a Empire of the Petal Throne adventures. I mean, there people in the industry really love this game world, really respect it a lot. So for a lot of those guys, it was a huge surprise, and they were absolutely shocked and dismayed, and like oh my god, I can't believe this. And so a lot of them, their reply was that the stuff we're writing for Empire of the Peloton doesn't have any neo-Nazi connotations. Now, if a guy that formed basically created the world as a bad person, which it appears now he was, and he probably was for years and years. How
Right.
does that reflect on the finished product? I mean, do you have to issue you know a disclaimer now? That hey, this world was created by a guy that has found out had some really terrible views, or do you just ignore it and just move on and say we're just not going to talk about it? I mean, so there's a bit different schools of thought on this, and I can understand where the school of thought that was like, if this is the case, I don't know
Right.
if it was or not, was that hey, we're just not going to talk about it. We're just not going to mention it, talk about it, and we're going to pretend like it never happened, and we're just going to continue to support the Empire of the Pedal Throne world, and unfortunately this did come out, so they were forced to confront it. Now, but I don't know that's the case. I just don't know.
Right.
And I don't think anybody does know for certain. But it has created a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths when it comes to M.A.R. Barker and Empire of the Pedal Throne. Because they, a lot of people are like, well, I don't even want to run adventures in that world anymore, or do any supplements I mean, Jeff D wrote a whole really incredible supplement for it that I think now he's kind of disowned and like I don't even want anything to do with it anymore because I don't want to support that world now that he's been really and he's passed away. I mean, he's no longer with us, so it's not like he's getting any money from this or
Right.
Professor Barker's profiting in any way whatsoever from this. But it's upsetting for people, and I can understand why. So that's kind of where we come from this. So that's kind of the background on this, and apparently Victor and some other people are doing a seminar at Capricorn, which I've never heard of. Which is
Capricorn in Chicago.
Capricorn in Chicago, which is going to be beginning of February, and they're doing a seminar on the old school gaming renaissance and its bad reputation.
I
Because
don't care about
apparently it
my
has a
bad
bad reputation.
reputation.
Thank you, Joan Jett.
Yes.
No, yeah. So I, I thought I watched your video today. I thought your response was very very good for this. It's probably not the response people want to see. They want to see clownfish. They want to see a bunch of guys going, "Oh my God, the OSR is going up." They want to see a not dungeon damsel. Who's the dungeon mistress screaming that the end of the end of D&D is here, because every other video of hers is how D&D is about to be destroyed, because I think her clickbait's pretty funny actually, because it's just always about how everything's going to come to an end. It's all look at a whole list of her videos. Every single one of them's the end of D&D, the end of
Ah,
tabletop gaming.
it,
And she has some good points in there, but it's just so funny how she clickbaits it. So is this the end of D&D? I think it's funny that people are doing a seminar on this, because I just don't get it, I guess. Because
well, again, like, my issue with this is, first off, the writing on the write up for the seminar, and I will show you here. Let me show you right now. This is the actual write up.
oh boy.
Now, just to put this in perspective, this seminar is being held on a Sunday morning at 11:30 a.m. local time, which means they expect little, if any, attendance. Okay, if you've ever been to a convention, Sundays are where people are walking around with their luggage because they are waiting to catch the shuttle to get to their plane. That's why I leave on Mondays, but a lot of people leave on Sundays. So this is going to be a poorly attended seminar, in my humble opinion. So Victor, by the way, in the Facebook post goes, "Oh, I don't know who else is on this panel with me," but I went right to the damn site and found it right away. It's Tanya DePass. Don't. This isn't a slight on Tanya. No idea who she is, what she's done, what makes her relevant to this panel. No clue. Maybe she's written some great stuff in the OSR. Don't know. Maybe she's influential in the OSR on some other corner of it. I don't know. But in any case, Where did this come from? Why is it important to address? And how do we do that? No, really, there are too many straight white older grognards making life difficult for everybody else. Already, when you're making an absolute statement, when you're saying that this is a statement of fact, and it's not like saying, are there too many straight white older grognards in the hobby? No, there are. That's what they're saying. That's what gets under my skin. How do we deal with that besides tossing OSR games out? And to
Who are
me,
we that who are the people that are tossing the OSR games out?
I don't know. I guess those in the
Is it
OSR that
everybody?
are not straight white older grognards. So,
Okay.
um, oh, here somebody Mythical Mountains. She's an activist streamer.
You know,
Okay.
I think that I did read she's like a journalist also, or well, journalist in quotes, because nowadays everybody says they're a journalist, so God knows.
I'm a journalist.
You are you are a journalist. You
I,
actually are.
I've actually been part of a survey. I
By
didn't
the,
reach out. They reached out to me.
by
But
the way, I had to go get the I had to go get a heater. It's so damn cold in here. It's Texas has been crazy the last few days, so I had to go
um,
get a little space heater to put underneath my table because I'm freezing to death. And
that's
so
okay, Mike. You're
I went to
allowed.
grab it for my wife, and my wife's sitting there staring out the window. It turns out there's police cars parked in front of our house, even though I don't think I don't think we called them. I don't know why they're here, but they drove off, so I don't know. Something's
Okay.
going on, man. If you hear shots fired, then
Five.
something's up. Something's up. Something's
Uh,
going on. But
Mythic Mountain Games. She's a game journalist and also a developer, apparently, of some indie TTRPG games. All right. Well, Victor didn't know she was on this panel with him, which to me
weird.
kind of tells me that uh, I mean, you would know who's on a panel with you, I would think, especially if you're asking questions about the panel. If you want to get input from the community, and this is, by the way, this is Stewart's OSR community where this was posted. Stuart Robertson. Stuart's a great guy. Uh, his community is solid, and it is gaming solid related. But Victor says, I'm looking for opinions and constructive thoughts regarding the panel topic, especially that last question. Help me out. What would be your contribution towards a decent answer? And that last question is, how do we deal with it besides tossing OSR games out? Out of what? Out of the column? Out of your gaming collection? Out of your
so,
rotation? I don't
so
I
this
don't
was
get it.
posted on Stewart's site, and I guess it got brigaded and it got taken down. Correct? Because it's
No,
no
it was
longer
it
there.
was left up. Here's what I love about Stewart. All right. Stewart says, listen, my community is about we're politics free. We're here to talk old school gaming, OSR games. So if you apply to join this group, you must agree, like if you join in a tavern, to avoid talking politics and social issues, which is fine. But Stewart takes it one step further, and he tells you, I am going to look at every applicant's social media on Facebook. I'm going to look at what you post. I'm going to look at what you share. And if it is overly political in any direction, I'm going to deny you're
So he's
joining the
basically
group.
he's filtering out activists before they even get started
Yeah,
because what they try to do is they try to worm your way into your page, kind of like scammers or con artists do. Because we have the same thing on North Texas in that we have to answer three questions to be part of North Texas, and if you can't answer those two questions, you're either a bot or you're a scammer. For the
right.
most part. I mean, and so yeah, if you don't answer the questions, I don't, you get blocked or you don't get let in. Or sometimes, every once in a while, I'll see a name I kind of recognize and I'll check their page and go, well, maybe they just did forgot to answer the questions or something. And I'll look if it's somebody like, okay, I kind of know this guy, I'll let him in. But sometimes I'm like, I don't recognize the name, and I look at their page. I'm like, oh, they're a multi-level marketer. Okay, yeah, they're not getting on the North Texas
Right.
page because I understand what's going on here. They don't want to answer the page because they don't know anything about. I think I asked like, what's your favorite version of D&D, and where did you hear about North Texas? I mean, the questions anybody can answer. Anybody can answer that, and yet some people just don't answer it. And then usually when you check their page, you see why, because they're not legit. So I can, he's just going one step further and saying, look, I don't want anybody that's going to create issues
Yeah.
on either side, on any side. And I know Stewart, he tries to play it kind of down the middle, and that,
Yep.
I don't want any extreme person on this page talking about OSR,
So
stuff.
a post like this, was going to get reactions from
Obviously, absolutely,
all
yes.
sides. And right away, when it was posted, one of the first comments, not from Stewart, but from one of the community members, was like, "This doesn't belong in this community." But be that as it may, it was up there, and I really thought that it's something that deserved discussion and being looked at, because there are assumptions built into this panel that I think go beyond what they obviously need to. The old school gaming renaissance and its bad reputation. It's not the OSR that has a bad reputation, except for the handful of people who like to say the OSR has a bad reputation. There are bad actors in the OSR. There are bad actors in knitting groups. There are bad actors in your church. There are bad actors in the police department. I know I was in internal affairs. There are bad actors in every community, every social function.
Sure.
It is nature of man that when you gather a group, you're going to have, quote, bad
Oh,
actors.
some of the worst people, when I first got on AOL 30 years ago, and they had forums back then, AOL forums, some of the worst human beings I ever ran into were the Star Trek people. The absolute worst scum of the universe. This is back when Next Generation was going strong, and there was some people that hated Next Generation. They were original Star Trek people, and if you liked Next Generation, they immediately kicked you off the page if you said anything about that. There was some people that were all pro Next Generation. If you liked anything of the original series, you immediately got kicked off the page. I mean, they were some miserable human beings there. And one of the funniest parts was, I remember I had a friend that joined the page, and they had a they one of the questions to join the group was, who's your favorite Star Trek captain, but it was a trick, because if you said anything but Kirk, you got kicked off the page, because obviously Kirk is the
Oh,
only Star Trek captain that matters at all.
of course.
This back in like 1994, 1995, or whatever. And so anyway, it's just, so yeah. I mean, so there were some terrible human beings on those. Those Star Trek people were just absolutely miserable human beings. They weren't all about, hey, let's watch Star Trek, and I don't care what version it is or what you like. I just think it's cool that we're seeing this cool science fiction show. No, 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 no. These were not. These people were terrible. They were miserable human beings. If you don't like the Star Trek I like, you're worse than the worst human alive, and I hope you die in a train wreck and go to hell and F you. And so, yes, you have bad people. Every
I,
time you have any kind of hobbyist get together,
yep.
you're going to have, if you have railroad hobbyists get together, I'm sure there's railroad people that are miserable human beings. You know,
Zen Gunman, thank you. And yes, Zach Smith, personal experience. I've stated my opinion. I don't need to repeat it. There's a term I can't remember, but I think some of this is misunderstanding. She is part of the indie tabletop RPG community. I don't think their goal is the same as people playing Swords of Wizardry, but she's talking about she's going to talk about the old school gaming renaissance. So
yeah.
that's the folks playing Swords of Wizardry. That's not people playing
Maybe,
thirsty sword lesbians or something like that.
I read this, and I thought, so I just kind of rolled my eyes. I thought it was, first of all, I thought it was very clickbaity. It's one of those titles that you're gonna look. We're talking about it, right? You and I are
Right.
talking about it, Eric, and you did a thing on it.
I did
So
a video on it, but and like I
it seems
said,
like it's very
nobody's going to be at
clickbaity.
the seminar. Poor
Very
Victor will be
clickbaity.
talking to like two people because it's a Sunday at noon.
It's Sunday at noon. Nobody's gonna, I mean, I guess whoever's staying over to Monday might show up. I would
So,
go. Look, I would go see this. I'm just curious to what their plan of action is, or what they're gonna write out. But it's all in all, it's kind of a meaningless topic, because I don't understand what they're trying to prove, or what they really would trying to do. Except, look, there's a lot of people. So RPGs pretty much began, or at least D&D began, 50 years ago in the small Midwestern area of Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, which was look, Wisconsin is still one of the whitest states in the United States. I want to say that they're like 30, maybe under 30% minority. It might even be much smaller than that. I think it's much smaller than that. And it's a way of Texas is a minority majority state. I mean, Texas is 55%, 50 is 45% Caucasian, whatever. It's 55% other. So it's but Wisconsin, I want to say they're very very low percentage of anybody but white people, because only white people are stupid enough to live in that cold a state for all year that has 8 months of winter. Only white people will do that. But so yeah, the people who started the hobby are predominantly, what are they, Eric? They're predominantly white, straight, and male, because that's the way most people present it. It's the same thing with war gamers. There's a very famous survey of Avalon Hill Games back in the 70s, and they had people that played their war games. Please turn in this survey, and I think women that played the game were less than 5% or 3. I mean, and most of those were spouses of people who played. Women just did not play war games back then. They just didn't. Women were just, that just wasn't something that just interested them. Much, I would think, the same as if you took a sewing group. And said, what percentage of you are men? It would probably be less than 5%. I mean, there's going to be some men that like to sew. It's just not going to be very big. So women didn't like to play war games. So what? So women didn't want to play war games. I mean, that's okay. Well, this hobby was formed by, white, white. Now, they weren't old at the time. Now, they're only old now. But at the time, they weren't old. At the time, they were in their 20s. These were young guys, but this is just something that they formed. So the past of the hobby is almost looked at exclusively through that point of view. So you have to take that with, I guess, a grain of salt. Is that these are the people that created the hobby. So predominantly, if there's anybody bad in the hobby, yes, predominantly they're going to be white and straight and male, because that's 90% of what the hobby was back then, 95%. Now the demographics are much different, and there's much more diversity. But back then there wasn't. And so, you can't punish people for being what they were 50 years ago, because that's just the way it was. I just don't see the point of this, I gave. Now, if you're saying that now there's too many straight, white, older people, and they're a problem, don't you just ignore people like that? I ignore problem people. Look, I get into it to this day. I get into it with people online all the time. I get into it with the people that I just play first edition D&D using only the old rule books. I don't use any reprints. You don't even need the OSR. Why would you play a retro clone? You have the original rule books. You play it just the way Gary intended it. Rules as written. There's no house rules. We play exactly the way, and then they give you 18 house rules they have. They tell you, we play it exactly the way Gary wrote it, except we don't use this rule, this rule, this rule, this rule, this
right.
rule. And we change this spell up. And we don't use weapon
speed.
And
Joe, come on. Oh, Mike, I thought you were Joe the lawyer there for a second. But no, you're right.
So those guys irritate the hell out of me too, because I'm like, dude, nobody is hurting you. Nobody's copy of Swords of Wizardry is hurting you. You are not being hurt by Swords of Wizardry being out. Continue to play your first edition game the way God intended it, and the way you've always played it, and your audience will keep shrinking, and you'll keep getting older, and you'll keep losing players. But you can keep doing that. I'm not upset that you're doing that. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. No. So that's what I don't understand, is that if somebody wants to play using OSR type rules, and just let them play doing what they want to do.
Again, well, first off, it shouldn't be there are too many straight white older grognards making life difficult for everybody else. It should be if you want an OSR community or movement that is more representative of the population at large, then what you should be saying is, no, what we need is more minorities. We need more women. And that would be that's great. This reads like, how do we kick out white people from it? Like this is like, oh, what's his name from WotC? who he can't wait to see white males out of
I
the
can't wait till I'm out of this game forever. Well, you
yeah.
know,
I
the
mean,
door's over there. Oh wait, they didn't fire you. They
you
didn't fire
don't
you in
this
December.
this this is not
Oh,
addition by subtraction. This isn't a zero sum game. Bring in more gamers. Listen, we've got Wonky in the audience. He's a younger OSR gamer, and I love to see that. I want to see more of Wonky's generation playing old school games. This way,
uh,
when people like Mike and I and Greg Gillespie and Rob Conley, and we're all going to pass. All right, our generation is going to pass, and usually we say we're going to pass the torch on to a new generation. Well, that new generation isn't going to be the same generation that started it, but hopefully they keep the traditions going. But I'm not judging them and going, well, if you're going to follow in my footsteps, you can only be a male, white, and straight. I don't care. I love gaming at conventions because I get to play with everybody. Because here's a secret, and I know this is scary. All right. But when you're gaming in your own personal groups, you're usually gaming because you have social connections with people.
sure.
And when you have social connections with people, it's usually because you have common interests, whether that was work, school, your neighborhood. There's something that brought you all together. It could be gaming, right? But when you find these people and you have that social connection, you're very usually fairly insular in bringing other people into that group. I mean, I know when we started my current online group, when we first started playing on Saturdays, if I usually it was me asking if we could bring somebody in, it would be a trial basis. It would be
Right.
like, all right, yeah, they got two sessions, and if we don't like them, if one person says no, they're out because you had to uh, fit with the energy of the group. Okay, when you're playing at a convention, that group has a unique energy, and it's made up of a bunch of randos that are all there to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been at a convention where anybody has been turned away because of race, gender identification, disability, age. I've run games with kids as young as 10. Run games with people in their 70s. I've had people across the gender spectrum. I've had people disabled to the point where their significant other had to roll the dice for them. And it was all awesome because this is what gaming is about. So for this to say, how do we get rid of this is what it's basically saying. How do we get rid of uh, old
Wouldn't they
white
just
men?
say they just want to get rid of problem old white
That's
straight
not written.
men?
This is horribly written. Again, this
Yeah,
is
it's very.
horribly.
Yeah.
I could say it's written in a certain. It's certainly not Gygaxian high prose. Okay, it's certainly not that because
No.
if I'm going through this as a history major and I wrote lots of papers and lots of term papers and I'm going through this going, oh my god, where's the commas? Oh my god, this makes no sense. And this is the write up for and this is what
Do you think
if you
this?
propose this to me and say, hey, Tenkar, you want to be on this panel? And it was written like this, I'd go, what? Is a 10-year-old writing this up? Because no, I don't want to be on this panel.
It just yeah, it's very confusing, and it sounds to me like they put the cart before the horse, and that we're going to create a provocative title for a seminar, and but you run it and you run it, and and they're like, and people are like, well, what should I talk about during the seminar? I mean, I just look, it's just like I said, it's obviously kind of clickbaity the way it's written and the way it's you know presented, and I think it's gotten its desired effect. I mean, like I said, there's people talking about it. People are outraged, which you shouldn't be outraged about something like this. You should just roll your eyes
Yeah,
and roll on because it's just it doesn't move the needle anyway. Look, no matter what anybody is going to do, the people who are in the OSR now are going to be creative. I mean, people aren't going to leave the OSR because of something like this. They don't care. The OSR is a diverse movement that has everybody from it just has so many different people in it that it's almost unquantifiable, and that you can say, well, here's your average OSR person. You really can't even say that.
well, and again, um, Hmm. My side went silent. Mike, if you're talking, I
I'm here.
can't.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
No, that
I'm
was
sorry. I
just
was
me.
like, ooh,
No,
geez, like, what?
no.
Um, but if you are an old school gamer, and I'm trying to regain my thought on this one. Um, but if you are an old school gamer and they're talking, what community they're talking about? Like on the internet? If I have an old school gaming community that doesn't, I don't feel comfortable in. If you don't like Stewart's gaming community, there's the OSR RPG community, commonly known as the Rainbow OSR. Maybe you feel more comfortable there. There's a community for everybody to feel comfortable in. I don't see what that is. And if you're talking in face to face, again, these are social groups that you may not fit in, not because of how you identify. You might just not fit in with the group dynamics. And or maybe it's a group that just doesn't want to add anybody to it. That's how my group is. We're comfortable with the players we have, and we're not looking to add.
I mean, look, we all, for those of us who know female gamers, we've all heard a story from them about how guys were idiots to them.
Yes.
Because, and a lot of times it's not because. I think it's less because the guys are misogynists, more because they're just clueless idiot nerds. Because there's a lot of people in our hobby with social issues, social anxiety, ADHD, ADD. I mean, there's a lot of issues that go beyond the fact that, well, I just, I hate women. It's more like I don't know how to behave around women because I am not socially equipped to deal with that. And that's what I see more than anything else. But yes, the female friends I've had that have been in the hobby all have a story or two to tell about, oh yeah, these guys treated me like this, or they patted me on the head and said, when we need your help, honey, we'll ask you for help, or you always hear that, right? Because there's cavemen in our hobby. Oh, there are. They're just like I said, they irritate me just as much as the guys that are like, we only play D&D one way. It's the way that Gary said. And why are you using these reprint? Why are you playing OSE? The game was written right the first time.
All
Those
right.
guys. It's the
These
same
and
thing.
these are the same ones that are going to mock the younger players. Ah, yeah, I was playing
Oh
before you were
yeah.
born. I've heard this shit too.
I use chips instead of dice. Oh, all you kids, all you know is your shiny metal dice, and I use dice that fell to pieces when I rolled them. And rah, 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 rah.
By the way, Glenn, if you wish to join in, you have an invite because
Obviously.
how can you not have old man Grognard? And we're talking Grognards. Victor's mistake is asking the internet for contributions to his answers.
That's
Seems to
true.
me like
Yeah,
he's
never
sitting
do
in its
that.
case because his true opinion gets him canceled. Well, I don't know that for sure, but yeah, you don't ask that's not the opinion. Oh, hey, bunch of old school gamers. Hey, by the way, they think that you are all assholes and
You're
you're
miserable
causing
human beings.
difficulty for everybody
What's your
else.
answer? What's your answer to what's your response to the fact that we all think that a certain segment of gaming thinks you're miserable human beings? Well, how are
Yeah,
you going to react to that?
yeah.
Obviously,
You can take that first, right?
you're gonna lash out. People are gonna lash out at that, and it's gonna get ugly right off the bat. Which I'm sure this thread got really ugly really quick. I don't know because like I said, it's already been shut down.
Yeah.
But yeah, these things are already going to be ugly, and and look, you wouldn't present this. You're not going to present a panel like this at Gary Con or North Texas because you're gonna present it at a convention that you're gonna have people that are gonna nod and say, yeah, man, that's true. This is really true. So I don't know anything about Capricorn, but I mean, I'm sure that it tells me it tells me more about people that are going to attend Capricorn than anything really, because they're the ones that are actually going to be putting this on. What the people that go there, do they think that that old white straight white dudes really are ruining gaming? I mean, it's like, hey, I just so much ado about nothing. I mean, are there bad people in gaming? Yes, there always are. There's bad people. We just already said this, and we can only beat this point in the ground so often. There he is, my buddy Glenn.
Glenn,
Oh,
So what the hell
Glenn
kind of trouble do
Grognard.
you guys get into this time?
Nothing,
no
nothing.
trouble whatsoever.
No
No
trouble at
trouble
all.
that you couldn't handle,
No
Glenn.
trouble at all. No No trouble at all.
Hey, Mike was right. It's clickbait.
Absolutely. Thank you, Glenn. I saw that as soon as Eric sent that to me. I said, that is the clickiest of clickbait I've ever clicked across. That's, that's like saying,
what got me is what do we deal with that besides tossing OSR games out? Well, I got a middle finger for you if you try and toss OSR games out.
You can't toss that out, Glenn. Oh, yes,
why don't you just have a
I had something in my eye.
Just have a panel. I mean, look, we should sit there and write the 10 clickbaitiest seminars ever. I mean, you could write. Why is Gary Gygax's version of D&D the worst version of D&D ever written? Our panelists will explain why it's so much worse. I mean, yes, that's obviously that would be clickbait, and you get all the grognards like,
All right. Yeah. I want to address Mythic Mountains real quick. First off, we don't know when Victor posted this initially in the OSR Facebook group. He said he didn't know who else was on this panel with him that he agreed to be on. So, and he shared it. So this is the panel that he agreed to be on. He didn't know who else was on it with him. I did a little research, found that Tanya DePass is on it. I don't know if she wrote this write-up. Whoever wrote this write-up is whatever their issues are or aren't, their English is pretty poor. All right, their grammar sucks.
And look, and maybe they have Victor on there. Look, I don't think it's even a secret. Victor's gay, and that he also is connected to the Empire of the Petal Throne. So maybe they thought he would have some interesting insights because obviously we know now about M.A.R. Barker. He's extremely there's that word problematic. He's an extremely problematic individual when it comes to the history of the hobby now. Because how do you talk about the influence that Empire of the Petal Throne had on our hobby without now you have to throw in, oh, by the way, the creator of this, he was a neo-Nazi too. Oh, we forgot we can't leave that out anymore. And so, maybe he was brought in for his expertise in that regard. Is that, because he's head of the Empire of the Petal Throne Society.
Oh, we never had any of that kind of trouble in the OSR. Hargrave.
Well, Hargrave's issues were different, right? I mean, he had, Gary had his issues too. I mean, you look, I mean, you don't want to read anything too carefully of these guys wrote because they're a different generation where they would use terms and say things that we cringe at now. We don't use those terms now. We don't say it that way, but you have to understand that, the same way that Lovecraft was, probably the stuff he did wasn't right. The stuff that Robert E. Howard was misled, but they were products of their times, man. These guys were born in early 20th century. I mean, and so these guys, the Gary Gygax of the world were born, before World War II, and so they, this is just a different time. Yeah, that you're going to find some troubling thoughts in that time.
Hey, Mike, I'm not gonna veer us into this territory, but how many DVDs and Blu-rays have you gotten rid of because the people that are making the movies are problematic?
I've got rid of none, and and I will tell you right now.
Same thing.
I'll come right out and say that Roman Polanski's a piece of shit, and I think he's a piece of garbage. And I also think that Chinatown's one of the greatest pieces of 20th century cinema. I think it's absolutely incredible movie. But he's a piece of garbage. He's a child-molesting piece of garbage. I mean,
I know there's a lot of people. He's like one of the like movie versions of Zach Smith, because I think the same as Zach, but damn, he makes some good role-playing stuff.
Everybody that applauded Polanski during his Academy Award a few years ago should be I mean, they should take pictures of every one of them and post them up there and say, this person applauded a known child molester.
We could sit here. We could sit here for another hour, and I could spout like 3 or 4 other people we could argue over, but I'm not going to do that.
Boris Karloff not Boris Karloff. I'm sorry. Bela Lugosi had issues. I mean, a lot of these guys had issues. So
okay. And you know what? For some reason, this whole topic is making. Sorry, I don't mean to derail this. Somehow, this whole topic makes me think of the what I thought was the perpetual panel in every RPG convention, which was women in gaming. Seems like every convention I went
That was the big,
to
yeah, that
had
was the
at
big
least
deal a
had
few years ago.
that
yes.
that panel. It always
That
had
was the
that
hot point.
panel.
That was the hot point
Yeah.
a few years ago. Was women in
And
gaming,
this is
and
the
you
current
start out with
thing.
that, then you just have whatever, and it was already a hot button issue right there because you said women
Mhm.
in gaming, women in gaming, and so yeah, it's click, click, clicky, clicky, clickety, click, click, and so.
Yeah.
And look, here we are talking about it, and everybody's getting all fired up about it, and blah blah blah. But in the long run, that's why these things are brought up because the same reason that the dungeon mistress, like I said, look at the title of every one of her videos. The end of tabletop gaming. Tabletop gaming's over. WotC's finished. They're all these really just, oh my god, you got to click it because WotC's finished. What do they do now? Well, they didn't do anything now.
The end
title
of physical media, which includes role-playing game, which
yes,
includes
it
books.
I
Well,
know.
we're getting there, man. By the way, I want to address Mythic Mountains RPG because he's had a very good
Go
point.
ahead.
For 2.5 years, I had LGBTQ players, trans, a furry, neurodivergent, and then
The
me, the
furry.
dungeon master, a hyper-traditional religious type. And we love each other. The truth is,
There
the
you
truth
go.
of the table is that games unite; they don't divide. And you can't say that any better than you just did. It is true that should bring us together. It should be
My group is
what
an
we have in
absolutely no
common.
politics group, and we have far left, we got far right, we got in between, we got everybody. We got a potpourri of political opinions and progressive and conservative, but you know what? We don't talk about it during gaming. That's it's not a
My
part
ch-
of our gaming.
My old champions group was filled with right-wing Rambo types, and we had no problem playing together.
Right wing rainbow or right wing Rambo?
Rambo.
Okay. Because
And
line.
that was during the days when I was like over on the left, instead of the center like I am now. So hey, you play with who you play that you like. So
Right,
that's the
and
whole deal.
Yeah, but they need to kick the furry out of that group though. But I'm okay with everybody else in that group, but the furry bot.
If you're going to be a furry, not at the game table. That's all I can
Yeah,
say.
not at the game table. No, as long as you're not wearing your costume at the game table, I guess we could get along. But that freaks me out, man. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it's your kink. Hey, we're not kink shaming, okay?
No
We're
kink
not
shaming.
kink shaming.
No, we don't kink
Yeah.
shame here at Talk.
Only Mike's kink. Only Mike's kinks.
No, I
do we
don't.
shame.
I don't kink shame. I tried to kink.
No, we
shame
shame your kinks.
Oh, Mike. Oh, definitely. You should because those are horrible kinks. And but no, we tried to kink shame Kim Whitman, and we were Eric and I were shamed instead, and we realized that kink
Oh
shaming
God,
is
yes.
wrong.
I was hurt to the quick.
Is he involved with anybody? It's like, do they go in the bedroom and like play? I'm the giant pencil dice, and you're the.
Dice. How about the pop-up dice that he was trying to?
You're the pop-up dice. I'm the pencil dice. Let's play.
Not me. Wonky.
Whatever your shame is, whatever your
maybe
kink
they
is.
just like the scene so much, they should toss it out and find something different to do. Everyone I know is sick of this pandaverse reality.
Yeah.
God bless.
Well, look, like I said, in the long run, you're going to have to talk about it. People are going to talk about it, and people are just going to play whatever games they want. It reminds me of, there's this whole world that the government and people in charge present, and then when you go and you talk to people in the street, they have different things they worry about. They worry about,
right.
I want to feed my kids. I want my kids to go to good college. I want them to get a job. I want my kids to get married. That this is what they worry about. And then when you get larger and larger stage, and they're talking about issues like what's going on in different countries, and these guys are bombing this guy. But the average guy on the street, that's not their thing they worry about. They worry about things that affect their life directly. And this is the same thing. I mean, if you're playing old school games, you're playing OSR games, this doesn't move the needle for you. You're still going to play old school games. You're not going to go,
That's right.
I critically examine my love of old school games, and these guys are right. I need to immediately stop playing old school. No, nobody does that. So I always find these things appeal to a certain kind of person that wants to think philosophically about the hobby. Where most people just want to get together. Look, I've run North Texas now. Gary and I've run it for 16 years, and people just want to get together. They want to roll dice. That they don't want to talk about these things while they're at a convention or while they're gaming. They just want to get there and they roll dice.
I hate to be the old guy in the room, but do you remember the days when the biggest philosophical argument that any gamers were had were, do female dwarves have beards?
Oh my God!
Oh my
yeah,
God.
That was
it.
And then we didn't even have internet back then. Can you imagine if we had the internet back then? How that would have blown up to like people would have been unfriending each other. You'd have had conventions where you are not allowed to play female dwarf without beards in this convention. I mean, it would have been just
that and the nature versus nurture. The paladin with the orc babies.
Oh my God, paladin and orc babies would have been another one. That would have been
orc and pie.
Yes.
Oh my
yes.
God.
Does the paladin kill the orc babies because do nits make lice or does nature nurture? And yes, you would have had all kinds of internet. I think you still have internet battles about that, don't you?
I don't know.
If somebody brings that back, they're gonna have a field day. If they ever bring it back,
I think people
paladin.
Honestly, people still argue, but I think people in forums still argue about paladins and orc babies. I really do think that happens. Because I think I read something recently about. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what a new thing is that somebody argued about. I thought was really interesting because. So I was talking to a guy once that has a group, and we were online. And it's a guy I've known for years and years online. He said that we don't allow charm person or any charm spells in our game anymore. I was like, okay, that's interesting. Explain more because I want to know what's going on here as well. Because at its heart, charming somebody is basically making people do stuff against their will. And we had some people.
Cat, come on.
And can be.
She's on my keyboard.
Oh God! And so apparently in their group, they had people that were taking advantage of the charm person spell, and they said that's not how we play. We don't play like that way. Oh, but I can charm this person. They can do this, that. So they've got this big argument about it. They said, you know what? We're just not going to use charm person. Charm person doesn't exist in our world. It doesn't exist because there was some people in our group, and I got the impression from what he said that they were the females that were bothered by this, by other people in the group using the charm person spell. But at its heart, most charm spells are making somebody do something against their will or something they wouldn't normally do. Right. So that became this huge topic of conversation with this group. And I thought, well, we never really had that problem in our group. But then we had adult human beings playing in my group who weren't idiots and were using the spell. But then I started thinking, but if you took it to its logical extreme, if you're an evil person, and you have a fireball spell, you don't think about twice about throwing a fireball spell into the local inn and burning everybody in there, right? You wouldn't think about that. That's like, I'm going to throw a fireball spell into the local inn, and it's going to explode. Then I'm going to loot all the bodies afterwards. So why would you care about using a charm person spell in any kind of, way that didn't, inconvenience somebody? So if you're evil, you would use charm person in an evil way, right? Or you would use it to do bad things. The same way that we talk about slavery. Slavery is bad. So if you have a slaver in your game, there should be an opponent that you're fighting. Your players shouldn't be slavers. They shouldn't be enslaving other people. They should be battling the people enslaving it. So I think I think most of these problems boil down to the fact that there's just some shitty people out there. There's lousy humans out there that will take a game and make it crappy. I mean, there's people that will get on Grand Theft Auto, and all I think about is they're going to beat up hookers and rob stores. I mean, the same thing. I was playing Red Dead Redemption, which is a great Western video game, Red Dead Redemption 2. And you have something called honor in the game if you're this main character. You can go into town, you can rob the bank, you can shoot people, you can shoot up the saloon, you can do this, that. But your honor goes down, and the more your honor goes down, the less you are able to interact with normal people in society. You can't do certain missions, certain side missions, because normal people in society don't want anything to do with you once your reputation gets bad. And
you revel in it.
Yeah, people would complain and go, "That sucks, man. I can't do all these side missions just because I shot the whole town up and killed everybody." Exactly. It's called morality. The game has morality in it, and you're upset because there's morality in there. Well, guess what? Stop shooting the town up and killing everybody. You could do
Well,
the
at that
side
point,
missions. In.
at that point, I become Jack Palance, basically. You walk into the bar and everybody goes.
You can play that way, and you can play that way and have a perfectly normal experience playing the game that way. But people, you have to understand that with anything there come consequences. But some people just don't. They don't get it. They just don't get it, and so they do these things at the table. I mean, who was the guy? Who was the DM in England? Eric, a few years ago, that thought it'd be a great idea to run a very explicit sexual
on a live stream, VTT live stream.
on a VTT live stream.
Yes.
I'm going to have a rape machine.
I saw that.
Here.
It was Robot
universe?
Grape. Robot Grape.
In what universe would that be considered acceptable DMing procedure to do something like that? And I mean, of course, he got absolutely hammered for that, and lost his show, and the players all quit, and he had to issue an apology, blah blah blah, whatever. But because nobody's that dumb, but he was that dumb.
Somebody is that dumb. They did it. The K5K. Note how our examples are of our character's morality. The discussion today has lost that nuance, and now the player's morality is questioned.
Very, very, very.
Well, it's the old association thing. Well, if you have a character like that, you must have something in your character that.
But I mean, that's the fun thing about role playing too, is that you don't have to. You get to role play somebody. That's why I have issues with stuff like the X card, because the X card is like, hey, I'm uncomfortable with the situation. I don't want to play it. Okay, I absolutely understand if you played the X card. If, hey, I'm going to role play a romantic scene with your character, who's by the way, in real life, that's your wife. We're going to role play a romantic scene there. I'm going to X card that and say, no, we're not doing that. We're going to go back. But if you say, I don't want to fight a giant spider, I'm going to X card that, I'm like, it's a fantasy game, isn't it? Where there's really scary monsters and
if I couldn't play a character, and if I couldn't play a character who was opposite of me, or I did things I didn't do, I would have stopped being an actor a long time ago.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing.
Thing.
Take the game and become some. Look, let's say if you're a certain person in real life, why would you want to play that character in a game? I definitely want to play a more heroic type character in a game or something. But look, my game experience isn't everybody else's game experience. Absolutely, we have to understand that. People always understand that, but it still puzzles me because in the end of the day, the whole issue of role playing is you are playing a character that's not you, in a situation that's not analogous to real life. In real life, we don't have evil necromancers raising the dead. That I know of. I mean, I don't
if you're playing somebody who's killing orc babies, somewhere in your personality, you must want to kill babies. Well, orc babies, but
maybe
yeah.
Maybe you're just playing a lousy paladin. Maybe that paladin, maybe he needs to be redeemed. Maybe there's if I'm the DM, and I have a player character that's a paladin, he does something because I mean, look, in your game, you're the gods, right? You're the god. You play the god. So if a player, I saw somebody on a thread recently. It was hilarious because the guy was like, "Yeah, my paladin did this and that," and then the DM suddenly tells me I don't have my paladin powers anymore, and all I did was I killed everybody in the village that was blah blah. And they're like, "Yeah, your DM is playing the god who is not very happy with the idea that you killed everybody in the village because." That they were harboring a fugitive, or I can't remember. There was some dumb reason. He goes, well, but my paladin would do that. Well, obviously the DM doesn't think your paladin should do that because the paladin is playing your god. So while you're playing your paladin the way you want to, unfortunately the circumstances are dictating.
You know what?
Screwed because
the eternal argument that alignments are stupid and alignments are old and shouldn't be in there. This is the kind of thing that keeps alignment around.
Yeah, actually.
But see, I think an alignment are okay, but I don't. alignments are very tricky in my games because I basically say, look, you're pretty much either neutral evil, neutral good, and you may slide around there somewhere, but I'm not going to hold it against you every once in a while because in real life, I can give you dozens of situations where during any one day, any of us will do both good and evil things, and just and go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And
Well,
we don't
good
you
and
know.
selfish things, let's say.
Well, yeah. Let's say I don't know. You
I haven't
walk up
killed
to.
my dog. I haven't killed any dogs lately, so
I mean,
Inadvertently.
maybe you love your wife, but you cheat on your taxes. Okay, well, cheating on your taxes technically is that an evil? I don't. Is that evil or is that
and
just
it's like, which one
it's
will get
breaking
me
the
the
law?
shorter jail sentence?
Or do you do you? I think one of the examples we had in my game was a guy that that my characters were like, well, you'd always know who's neutral evil or neutral good. Like, okay, how about this guy over here? He's an innkeeper. He cheats on his wife with all the barmaids, but he would die to protect his town. If anybody invades his town, he's the first one there with a sword and a shield, blocking. Is he good or evil? I mean, he's a crappy human being because he's cheating on his wife with barmaids, but he would sacrifice his life for his village. So that's just a dichotomy of humanity that kind of well, sometimes he's neutral good, sometimes he's neutral evil.
Well,
I mean, I don't know, he just kind of slides around in there. Every once in a while somebody in his bar gets drunk and passes out and he steals their purse because he figures, well, they're drunk on my table, I'm going to take their gold. But maybe he also gives a job to the little homeless kid that lives behind the bar and gives him a place to stay and slips some food and stuff. I mean, it's too hard to just say you're this. And in real life, we don't have lawful good and lawful evil because it's almost impossible to have those kinds of distinctions in real life.
here's something I think they should bring back. Talking about Judges Guild for a moment. Remember, like the modules, or like say the City State of the Invincible Old World and stuff. They used to give people alignments like lawful, leaning towards neutral,
Right.
and
You're
that
right.
kind of
That's
thing.
actually very interesting because that was a very early experience in dealing with what I'm talking about. And that, hey, this person is not always this because it's really almost impossible to be what you would consider a lawful alignment. We just don't have people that fanatical in our society in any great numbers where you could say somebody's lawful. I mean, I don't know if I could give an example of somebody that's lawful good, or lawful evil. It's too hard to, it's just too hard to say that everything they do follows this one path, and that if they don't, the God punishes them by
Yeah, well,
taking all the
but
powers
GM
away.
Grimoire is right. Lawful evil, Nazis.
Yeah, well, that's a good example. But also there's people that believe in you could say lawful evil is also I'm doing the right for the most people, even though it's going to hurt some people. But it's the right thing for the most people in our society. But it's going
Hey,
to hurt some of those people in our society.
That kept
So I mean,
Doctor Doom in power all these years. Yeah.
Doctor Doom would be lawful evil because he cares about his people and he cares about Latveria and he cares about, but he really thinks he should be in control of the world because I mean he's the one that knows.
It's the old.
The world would be so much better under his control. That's what he
Well,
thinks.
lawful evil to me, I see as like the old end justifies the means. You know what I mean?
Yep. I mean, if those pesky Reed Richards, that pesky Fantastic Four weren't here, I could rule the world and make it a better place. They're in my way because they're just idiots. They're not as smart as me. Yes, I mean that's.
Hey, Doctor Doom, what do you want to do tonight? Same thing we do every night.
Every
Reed.
night.
Try and take over the world.
Well, they better do Doctor Doom right if they do a Fantastic Four movie. I don't want to see any bullshit Doctor Doom. I'm sorry. Well, like they did in the other Fantastic Four movies.
Well, at least they got the
that was
mask
terrible.
right.
That's about the only thing. The other ones were just terrible.
That's too bad. That's too bad.
Terrible. Fantastic Four
Well,
movies.
Marvel's due for a win. So
They're due for something, man. They have they've been batting like 180 or 110 or something. They lost the formula. The formula was, let's have these really kick-ass characters you remember from when you were a kid, because we all remember Iron Man and Thor and Captain America. You know who we don't care about are the Marvels. I don't even know the superheroes are running now. I've read comics for 40 years. I don't even know who these guys are. I'm like, who is
Yeah.
that? I don't know. I don't know
It's
who
like
that
third
is.
strings. It's like,
Yeah, that's like not even the B team anymore. It's the D team. We're gonna do movies about.
I know. Ever since they discovered Guardians of the Galaxy was a winner, now they're trying to do it with every little obscure
one of my favorite characters when
group.
I was a kid was Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. I loved that series because it was about Kung Fu in the 70s, and 70s and Kung Fu go together.
yeah.
The movie character was nothing like that. I'm reading it, I'm watching, I'm like, I have no nostalgia for this character. This is not the character that I liked when I was a kid. And even if it was, should you make a whole movie about him? He's just a guy that does Kung Fu. And I mean, so he's not really a superhero.
Well, we ruined Iron Fist, so
Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah,
that was bad.
Iron Fist was.
That was bad stuff.
I said they could you know how they could redeem him? Take him and Luke and spin it off for Heroes for Hire.
Yeah, because the only good Netflix series was the Daredevil. Daredevil was really good. They did a great job with that.
Punisher wasn't bad.
Kingpin was good. He was in the Daredevil series, so it was Punisher. They all they did a very good job with all the Daredevil stuff, but I wasn't too excited about all the rest of the Netflix superhero stuff. They were very smart about keeping it all low power characters. They didn't have any of the really superpower people, the huge superpower people.
Yeah, it was like the TV series were for street level heroes.
Right, they're all street level heroes. I thought they did a good job, but yeah, and then of course now they've just retconned it where that never happened. I guess I don't know. So that's too bad because there was some good stuff in there.
Well, Agents of Shield had a good run, so.
Yeah, they were good, but they also, in the end, they said it really has no effect on the Marvel Universe. That they really didn't connect to the Marvel Universe either because they didn't want to deal with that. But I thought they did a really good job with Agents of Shield, pretty much. And but yeah, Marvel's overdue for another hit, but they've got to get some characters that people care about. If they do the X-Men and Fantastic Four, they better do it right because I don't think they have many more chances left. They've lost. I saw this year they lost $6 billion last year. Is it more than that? I mean, they lost a lot. Pretty much everything. I saw just today. Now this is mind blowing. They're not going to have a She-Hulk season 2, which is another character they shouldn't have bothered with, She-Hulk, because the initial series on Netflix was it Netflix? No, I'm sorry, Disney was $225 million.
Yeah, mind blowing.
You got to be kidding me. $225 million for the She-Hulk series. It's just throwing money in the toilet.
Well, I kind of, but they're doing good with stuff like Loki.
But yeah, but for every Loki, you got a She-Hulk, and for every
I thought She-Hulk was all right. Everybody said it was too jokey. Have you ever read the comic?
I've read the comic, but
it felt like the comic.
Yeah, But could it have been the comic for $100 million? Did it have to be? I didn't see $225 million on the screen. I'm sorry.
Hey, I can't help you. I don't have my hand in Disney's pocket. I can't help.
I don't either. Well, I think they're gonna get down to the point where they realize they can't just throw money at stuff and make it good.
Yeah, we're tanking Marvel. We're tanking Star Wars. We got to do something. Yeah.
Just write something good and people will watch it. You don't have to spend all this money trying to make kick-ass special effects. Just write a good story. I mean, I'll watch a good story more than I'll watch a kick-ass special effects story.
The downfall of Disney I'm waiting to happen is the announcement they get Michael Bay as a director.
Oh no, come on, dude.
I'm surprised, honestly, kind of surprised they haven't called him yet. Honestly, kind of surprised because it would seem like that's in their wheelhouse at this point.
Oh, did you know that his number's on speed dial for Kathleen Kennedy?
Oh,
that's a joke.
Spreading rumors now. Okay, there we go. That'd be
I'm surprised she hasn't called him.
Look, Star Wars. remember when the Mandalorian came out, and everybody was all crazy. Oh my gosh, this little baby Grogu, and it's awesome. And it's like
It
Clint
was.
Eastwood
It
Western.
is awesome.
It was really good. It was really good.
Yeah.
And then they just lost it immediately and went off on every 8 different directions, and they just.
And then
started,
came the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh,
was terrible.
that was bad.
Terrible. We just wanted
But
to
then
see
they
the
redeemed.
Mandalorian.
It's weird that Star Wars goes like this because they do a Mandalorian, then they go Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, and then they have another winner with Andor, and then they do 2 other things.
I
that are
absolutely
stupid.
agree with what Iger said when he said that one of the things he's going to do now that he's back in charge, he's going to stop all this excess shows because there's just too many Marvel shows, and because there's so many Marvel shows, they're spending all this extra money on characters we don't care about, and they're diluting the approach. There should be like 2 every year. Or 1. There doesn't need to be 10 more. Marvel shows. The Marvel universe is not that deep. It's not deep enough to have 10 different shows every year. You don't have that many kick-ass superheroes. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, but Marvel face rip is still great. Just getting it back to a role playing.
Oh my gosh, Ooey Bowl. Yeah, that's a. Oh yeah, don't even go there. That's bad stuff.
Watch this.
Oh no.
Glenn's he's gonna pull Ooey Bowl out.
No, I'm not gonna. God no, Ooey Bowl. God.
He's got a blue disc of a.
No, I don't have it on my shelf anymore. Over here, I don't have DC Heroes, but I have Blood of Heroes. So
okay,
what is
Blood of Heroes?
DC Heroes with the numbers filed off.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah. I don't sure. Okay,
I bought it from you.
You probably did. Yes. Well, DC Heroes wasn't a bad superhero game RPG. It wasn't bad at all.
No, it wasn't.
It was okay.
I thought it was rather unique.
Actually, they did a pretty good job with both Marvel superheroes. They're both different games, Marvel superheroes and DC Heroes, but considering what they're working against, I mean, you're not going to ever be as good as Champions, right? And so Champions is very math intensive, and you got to do this, and you have pluses and minuses
you got
and
to
cons.
deal with it.
Whereas the one mistake they had with Marvel superheroes is they concentrated too much. DC the same way, too much on you got to play Batman or the Flash or Spider-Man.
Well,
instead of making your own character.
See that was to me that was TSR listening too much to Marvel, who said,
right,
well, we don't want them to make their own characters. We just gave them all the characters.
Although you could make your own characters if you know what you're doing.
Barely, but that didn't happen. That didn't happen until the Advanced.
And then
they came out with a system.
And everybody wanted to play Wolverine every time. Like, okay, you can't all play Wolverine. No, we all want to play Wolverine. No, one person can. No, matter of fact, nobody plays Wolverine.
Well, I gotta admit they both have such a big cast that you could go years without playing an original character.
Well, I knew a friend of mine who played Marvel superheroes, and all he did was he would just do characters with the numbers filed off. In other words, you have Daredevil's powers, but you're not Daredevil. You're whatever you want to call your character. And so that was his way of getting around the you can't create characters rule. Was that he would say, what do you want your character to do? Well, I want my character to do this as this. Okay, you're basically the Thing, but we're not going to call you the Thing. But I'm going to give you all the Thing stats, and you're basically going to do anything. But you're called.
I want wild monkeys to fly out of my butt and attack people.
Okay, we don't really have a character that does that, Glenn. But that's Toon. That's a Toon game. That's not.
Yeah. It's a different.
That is Toon via the Book of Vile Darkness.
Now, GM Grimoire, you're absolutely correct. If WotC were smart, they would give an adult content a lot of books. They will never do that, but that would be a good way around the fact that we don't want to have slavery because people might play. I don't know why they won't. Because people might not treat that as an adult.
What are they going to do with the Slaver series then? I wonder.
Never print it. You'll never see the light of day again.
They won't talk about it or anything.
No.
Good thing I still got my copies.
Look at, like we always talk about the the system Midnight. What a just a kick-ass system that is, because it allows you to play characters that what if Middle Earth lost the war against Sauron, and it's really cool. But that's not something that WotC would ever do, because it's just there's too much. That's too mature a setting for WotC to ever want to come out with.
Mm-hmm.
So, but why shouldn't they? Why should they not be able to do a setting like that? What's preventing them doing that? Except that they're the brand. They have this brand they care about, and they're scared that somebody might mess the brand up. Oh my gosh, WotC has this series where there's slaves in it, so presumably your characters could be slavers. No, the slavers are the bad guys. You're fighting the bad guys. If you can fight a vampire, can't you fight a slaver? It's the same concept. It's a bad dude. These are bad dudes, man.
I still am down on slavery. Go figure.
I'm an anti-slavery guy.
But I do acknowledge the fact that in the past there was a few things that slavery was used for, like criminals and things like that.
Yeah, but I mean, is that still something that you don't want your players to be playing that? You want your players to be combating it, and so I never understood that. Like, are you scared that your players are going to want to play? Look, first of all, they're playing this game at their own house, in their kitchen, behind a closed door. So you really, when it begins with, you don't know what they're doing anyway. You don't know what players are doing anyway. So just what's the hassle about giving them the means to play? Guys that kill slavers. I mean, if they're going to play. If they're going to play stupid stupid characters, they're going to play those stupid characters no matter what you do. You can't kick in the door of everybody's house and say, I'm here to make sure your paladin is actually a paladin. I need to see
sometimes
your character sheet. Oh my god.
Sometimes I think erring on the side of caution goes a little too far.
Sometimes,
well, obviously, in their case, obviously, because they're like I said, they're a brand name now. That they're not gonna allow anything to sully their brand name. So yes, they become sanitized. But as long as all of us are sitting around the table doing whatever we want to do, I don't worry about the game that much. I see a lot of. I think the OSR is strong. I mean, I see the Kickstarters that were run last year that got over $1 million. And I just think that the whole gaming community is a very strong community. And I don't know. I don't think we need WotC anymore. Eric and I talk about this all the time, Glenn. I just don't think we need them anymore. It's great that they're still there propping up the brand, so to speak. But if they disappeared tomorrow, it's not going to affect any of our games, right? No. We have enough material to play D&D for the rest of our lives.
No. They were there for the... I think they were there for the exposure and the publicity to get the gaming community community up front.
The game grew more than it ever did under WotC's benevolent rule, and more people than ever now play the game. But it's time to take the training wheels off and let people go out there and find out find whatever game they want. Look, maybe they might like DCC better than D&D. Maybe they there's other games they might like. Maybe they don't want to play 5e anymore. Maybe they want to play, 1e or 2e or Pathfinder. Yeah. One good thing that WotC did last year by basically spitting it on all our faces is they made us realize we don't need them anymore. And that's the secret now, is we don't need them anymore. Thanks for what you did for propping the game up an additional 15 years or 10 years. But we're ready to move on now. We've got our own games. Yeah. And we're gonna run our own forms of D&D and our own types of D&D.
That's right.
Don't need you. See you later.
Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Goodbye.
Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you.
I'd be interested.
We hit the 2-hour mark. Holy shit.
I was just say one last thing about the 50th anniversary. We're talking about the 50th anniversary that nobody is. Doesn't seem like there's any big plans for it. I think what's going to be cool with that is I think a lot of people are planning smaller celebrations for the 50th anniversary, and I think that that's the way it should be anyway. I'm trying to think of something to do with my group, because the group that I play with. There's 3 players that we started playing in '78 together, and there's so that's what. That's over 40 years of gaming together. So I'm trying to think of something fun we can do as our own group for the 50th anniversary. I don't know. Maybe I'll have a cake or something. Maybe I'll commission a cake and a pizza. I don't know. We'll see.
A lot of people never thought they'd make it this far.
No.
So, yeah, that's probably.
And it shouldn't have been. By all rights, it should have. Absolutely failed what those guys did. And there was 3 or 4 times during its history. No, I think so, because
I don't think it. Why would it fail when wargaming has been being played for over 100 years?
Okay, by fail I mean just not be as big as it is. Because
but it's still a hobby.
Right, and because nobody as big as D&D got in the '80s, it's still a niche, right? It's still a niche. It's a niche now. It's a niche now. The only thing that makes it bigger than it normally would be is because the whole video game industry sprung out of role-playing games. I mean, the whole video game industry.
That's right.
Sprung out of video. And so all these people that have played video games for the years, they didn't even realize they were continuing the tradition of role-playing games, which they were.
That's right. That's right.
Whoa. So, just to let you know, the D&D 50th anniversary schedule for all of 2024 has been released.
Oh no,
we were wrong. They are doing something.
Yes.
What are they doing now? All right, let's see.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Mother frost.
So January 2024, the defective Book of Many Things, the deck of
defective.
Does it say that? I can't read it. Oh, it does say that. Yeah. Remaining 2024, no dates. Upgraded players, Dungeon Master, and Monster Manual. Vecna, Eye of Ruin.
Yeah, because they can't have no new ideas. 0 new ideas. Yes.
All right. The making of original Dungeons and Dragons, 1970.
That'll be a good book. That's the Peterson book. Yeah, that'll be good.
Descent into the Lost Cabins.
Dear God! Once again, they don't have an original idea. They haven't had an original idea in 50 years. Good Lord.
Quest from the Infinite Staircase.
Is that a Planescape?
No. I'm sure that's like if you want to play like a librarian, it's going to be like the adventures in the library.
What's there a Planescape thing called? If it's play a librarian.
Wait! These are the book releases. I know that D&D teased us with a 3D map making software for those that play via VTT, and I'm sure there will be videos and media that are made available as well. Wow! Oh, and here's what's exciting about this. By the way, this was edited 8 hours ago. You can't get more up to date than Laird Denton updating this 8 hours ago.
Who does
Telling
that?
You absolutely.
Who is that going to excite? Who will that excite in the industry? Who is that going to excite? There's nothing exciting in that release that we didn't already know that we don't care about.
Yeah.
Oh boy. And not even that. They're supposedly up. Are these actually going to be physical products, or this is going to be digital? The upgraded Monster Manual.
These are book releases, so they'll be digital. Definitely going to be digital. Sorry, definitely will be physical of the cores. I'm going to guess that initially it's physical of everything, just not the number that you're used to. They're going to, but I mean, well, God help me.
Vecna, Eye of Ruin sounds suspiciously close to what a certain insider in the industry told Eric and I they played in that was really terrible. And I think that was it. I think because they said it would. I think that was the one they played in, Eric, that they said was really awful.
Oh, Quest from the Infinite Staircase or Descent?
No, Vecna, Eye of Ruin. I think that's what that's what they tested, because I believe their description that's what it was. It was something to do with Vecna, and then they said it was just really awful. So
now I'm going to make a guess here, folks, and this is a logical guess. Follow along with me. Now they're saying that they're not giving you a timeline here. However, I believe that they are giving you the order in which these releases are expected. And we know the making of Dungeons and Dragons is for June, I think. That one has a release date. So that would mean that the rule books are likely before June, even though they say it's not May. Right. Vecna probably comes out with the rule books, my guess. and then Descent into the Lost Caverns of God bless you, and Quest from the
So,
Infinite Staircase. Uh, God, again, no
Christmas,
reason to watch them.
Christmas time.
Can we get a new big baddie? No.
I honestly I cannot believe they didn't come out with the 180th version of Against the Giants series, because that's how bad they are at anything imaginative or creative. It's just the same thing over and over and over again, because they have no ideas anymore.
The point I will know they are creatively bankrupt is if they reissue for 5th edition the 2 Gary Gygax modules, Dungeon Land and the Land Beyond the Magic Mirror.
Oh,
I think you're safe there. I don't think we're going to see those.
No.
They will be. That's the bottom of the barrel, right?
We need Castle. Was it Castle Greyhawk? The gummy bear.
Oh, the joke version. Yeah.
Yes, that has to be reissued. That we need new ones so they can mock the hobby. That when I got that, I literally
I was so
wanted
angry
to
when
return
I got
it. I was like,
I did the same thing. I got home, unwrapped it, and said, "What the hell am I reading here? This is awful."
Unusual.
I thought I was going to get a mega dungeon, a kick-ass mega dungeon. I got unusual piece of garbage. So pissed.
Well, what about Greyhawk Ruins? I got that one.
That was that didn't come out to like 91 though. This
and it's usable-ish.
Yeah. Sort of, kind of.
Ish. I love it.
By the way, from what I understand, that bared absolutely zero relation to what Gary did, except for some very superficial areas, like the three different towers and Greyhawk Ruins. Other than that, they just made up stuff. That has nothing. They didn't look at anything Gary had left the company by then. They're just making shit up at that point. So
All right. Wow.
Real quick. If you're in the DFW area, the last weekend in January, we're having a game day at the Westin. That's Friday night. That's Saturday day. You can show up there and game with Gary and I and all the crew. We're going to be playing board games and all kinds of games, and hanging out and doing whatever. The weekend after that, February 2nd, there's a memorial to Janelle Jaquays at the National Video Game Museum in Frisco, Texas, starting at 6:30, February 2nd. So we'll talk about these a little bit next week too. But I will be at both those events if you want to say hi to me and give me some pain pills. If you want to have some extra pain pills laying around the house, my sciatica.
I have to say hi to you once a year as it is.
You're welcome to come. I know it's a drive, Glenn, but you're welcome to come down for any of those events. So
I may be in a show by that time.
Well,
next Saturday I'm auditioning for On Golden Pond. So.
Oh, you'll get that because you're old. Yeah, you'll get that definitely.
Yeah, we're shooing.
I love the support of my fans.
Yeah, we're shooing. I guarantee you'll have an audition.
The director asked me to audition, so yeah.
Oh wow! Oh well, that sounds like you.
It's about the only way to get my shows anymore. They got to ask me to do them.
Okay.
I told Becky I got to stop auditioning. Anyway, you guys have been fun.
Well, Glenn, thank you for joining us.
Yes, it was awesome. I usually barge into your guys' show. I'm glad you barged into our show.
Well, you could. Well, Friday you can barge into our show. How about that?
Well, I may just do that depending on what you guys are talking about. So
we'll find something.
You missed our discussion, Glenn. We were discussing horror movies at the beginning of the show, so we may have to have a horror movie discussion.
Look, I might be late for that show, so you can show up and vamp until I get.
Wait a second. Did you tell Eric this beforehand? You might.
I'm telling him now because there's a chance I won't. Well, there's a chance. See, we're going to look at houses at that afternoon. So,
and
it's like 45 minutes out. And in case I don't make it back in time, I will make it to the show.
If he doesn't make it, Eric, call me and I will pop on with you guys. As long as I don't think I got anything going on Friday night as usual. So let me know if Glenn can't make it on time. I will pop on for an hour
Well, I think it's time to go because I'm down to 2 zingers.
How can you eat those? Those are so sugary. Are you having a sugar low? I can't
have
something like that.
I don't really care for Twinkies, but I don't know. I had a thing for these lately. I gotta check my diabetes.
Yeah, that's not good, man. You can't do that. Come on, man. You gotta watch G. All right, Eric.
All right, folks.
We did it.
Listen, thank you. Our audience was great. You guys had tons of
Yes, thanks so much.
very awesome input, conversational shit.
Next
crap,
week, Tom Wilson will be on to talk about his new Kickstarter, The Slumbering City. Love having Tom on. That's going to be fun. He's a really great guy, hardest working guy in gaming. Let me tell you.
Thanks for having me, guys. I've been had before.
Oh
so.
Man, we love you.
We had Glenn. We shared Glenn. Ooh.
I loved it. It was awesome.
You clean up.
I don't care.
Hello. By the way,
you have me. You're going to clean up later.
The new headphones worked great. No problem. So.
Oh, did you get him some new
I'm
headphones?
going to say the headphones were the problem, Eric. I'm going to say the headphones were the problem.
Folks,
just like my.
I take care of my co-hosts with the money that we raise for this channel.
They're a little tight on my big fat head, which my head's really fat and big. But
well,
other than that,
I bought my own USB hub, but I bought my own USB hub, but Eric got me this kick-ass mic.
What? Whoa!
Doesn't need a mic.
What the hell?
Mike is a mic. He doesn't need a mic.
No, I don't need a mic. I'm fine. I'm
the Elgato Wave 3, beautiful.
I love the Elgato Wave 3. It's what I got.
Oh, man, I need to buy one for myself.
Yeah,
get him to buy. Get him to pay for it.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Please click it. Please click the thumbs up and subscribe.
Yep, I'm hoping to set some time.
That'll be a good thing.
We forgot to talk about football. Yeah, we're not talking about football this week. No football.
Some fireside chats, which will start hopefully releasing next week. So there's going to be like short interviews with people in the community. Could be some of my co-hosts.
Awesome. That is awesome.
It could be. I know. James Raggy said he'll do it with me. He's got to get a date set. I got Wenger. I'm sure Greg Gillespie and others. Probably Rob Conley. It's short, 10 to 15 minutes.
I still got to get Justin Alexander on our show.
Is that the guy from the Seinfeld?
No.
That's Jason Alexander.
I was busting hump there because it's what I do. I'm sorry. All right, folks.
New York, you can't help it.
I can't help it. As usual, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. If you're on the Discord server, 9 p.m. tomorrow, we do a hangout. Just come over to the Speakeasy. And next live stream is Glenn, myself, maybe Mike, on Friday night, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Thursday, I got Matt's game tomorrow night, so I won't be
there. That's okay. We'll miss you.
Okay.
I'll shed a tear.
Shadowdar?
No, Castles and Crusades.
Oh, CNC. Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
WotC pissed him off so much he changed systems.
I got you.
Yeah. All right.
Well, anyway.
Later, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.
Good night, folks.